Two screens, two different views. That's what we're all about. Welcome to Dual Screen Radio, where listening is good.
This is Shaynar Monroe.
And this is Chris Hentschel.
And you're listening to another episode of Dual Screen Radio,
where listening is good.
Is good. Hey, Chris, it's been it's been over a month since we had a show. I'm surprised anybody's even listening anymore.
Yeah, but we're still in June, so technically we are on schedule.
We are on schedule, on time, and under budget, as always. What an exciting show we have lined up for you. Tons of stuff. We've got a great new editorial commentary for you. We're going to let you know what's going on with the Dual Screen Radio Season 1 disc. We've got some new information about our latest venture, the DSR Wi-Fi uplink. For those of you who may have been missing from the show from the last month or so, we'll fill you in on that. We also are going to start accepting voicemail calls over Skype, and maybe you'll hear yourself right here on the show.
Yes, a brand new up-to-date feature here on Cutting Edge DSR Radio.
Cutting Edge. You'll be able to call in on Skype, and we'll give you the address to call in, or what do they call it, the Skype name that you call into. We've got reviews on Brothers in Arms for the DS, along with the Venerable Planet Puzzle League.
A.K.A. Tetris Attack for all your old-school players of the Super Nintendo version.
Yes, A.K.A. Panel de Pawn. Yes. And we got some interesting new mail sack information to talk to you about. We've got actually some news items that are of interest. We're going to have some good stuff. We got a homebrew update and a new feature right at the end of the show, which you're going to have to listen through till the end to find out what it is. You're going to love it. Good stuff. Wow, it almost took me half the show just to tell you what's going to be on the show. Nothing like, getting warmed up here. So, editorial. Actually, Chris doesn't even know what I want to talk about on this one. I kind of came up with this at the last minute. There's a time when you know you're successful. In everybody's life, we all know there's sort of a fork in the road where all of a sudden you realize, damn, I'm starting to make some money, or wow, something finally went right. You got that big job or something that, finally let you know you're doing something right. In the industry, in the gaming biz, there's a whole bunch of different things that let you know you're doing something right. And some of the more obvious ones are, you break 1 million sales on a game, or you ship 48 million Nintendo DSs, whatever. There's a whole bunch of indicators to let you know, and we're going to talk some more about this in the news, how you know you're doing things right. But one thing that struck me as you're doing something right is when a huge conglomerate crawls into bed with you. And when I talk about this, I'm talking about, of course, the Nintendo DS and Disney's theme parks. Now, this isn't really new news, but a lot of people have written in and talked about it. There's now DS download stations inside of Disneyland and Disney World. It's all tied into this new Pirates of the Caribbean thing that they're doing, where basically those of you with a copy of Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End on your DS can go into a theme park, into Disneyland, and walk up to these different kiosks and actually download pieces of a secret map. And it occurred to me, that's when you know that you've really struck it big. Has anyone ever seen a theme park where you could bring in your video game system and grab exclusive content or go on a treasure hunt or whatever it is that they're having you do?
Well, last time I went, I took my whole Xbox with me.
Yeah. You strapped it on the back like a Ghostbuster, man.
Yep, I strapped it on my back, and I went over to the Haunted Mansion ride, and I had my Xbox, and I had it plugged in a generator, and I said, okay, where's my exclusive content? I'm here. I want Eddie Murphy in my game.
Surprisingly enough, that didn't happen, I imagine. Nope. So to me, that was this huge indicator. It's like, it's just another piece of news. But at the same time, it's like, wow, that's something huge. Now, interesting to note that this is not the only time they're going to do this. Apparently, this is not going to be just limited to this Pirates of the Caribbean rollout. It's also going to be done with Buzz Lightyear. They have some weird exclusive DS thing. Now, I'm telling you, if you've ever been on Buzz Lightyear, it's a pretty cool ride. You get in and you shoot these targets down as the ride's moving you around. It's a pretty interactive experience. Well, imagine if one person was shooting the gun while the other person had their DS out, and they were racking up all these extra points by playing some mini game on the DS that they downloaded while they waited in line. I'm telling you, there's a billion and one possibilities that they could use this synergy to really make this interesting. I mean, how many times have you stood in a 45-minute line at Disneyland?
Oh, yeah.
And you could, you're standing in line, and you could be pulling something cool down from a DS download station right from that line, and be playing something while you're waiting for the ride. I mean, I don't know. To me, that really sent a big flag up. Other than the, 50 million DSs sold and all of these games going on, to me that really said, wow, the DS is not only here, but it's here to stay. And I thought that was pretty cool. Along with that, what really made me think about that is I went to Target searching for Puzzle Planet League when it came out. And I work downtown in an industrial area, and so the only Target even nearby me is this totally ghetto Target. I mean, this is like, when Elvis Presley sang, "In the Ghetto," this was exactly where Target was,
It's great.
Or Eric Cartman, depending on what generation you belong to. But anyway, so I went into this Target, and I'll tell you what, the DS thing was just abysmal. But oddly enough, I ran into Nintendo's Phoenix representative putting in a new DS download station there. And I had met this woman before at my local GameStop, and she kind of recognized me, and we talked a little bit. And what she was doing is she was putting in a special Transformers DS download station. And apparently she said that not every store, not every location was getting one of these. So it was some sort of an exclusive deal, I think, with Target, that you could download an exclusive Transformers movie.
Well, the movie,
and they had
the movie is like, they're just totally whoring it out. It's everywhere now. The commercialism. So.
Dude, it's absolutely insane how they're whoring that out. I'll tell you what, this is something that really sets up a signal too. My wife saw the trailer on TV, and she's like, "I want to see Transformers." I'm like, "Sweet, all right." Wife wants to go see an action movie. Nice.
I didn't think you wanted to see it though, did you?
Oh, it's Michael Bay, dude. It's going to be like the ultimate popcorn.
Well, early word is that it's actually supposed to be pretty decent. It's just one of those movies that, you don't go to looking for insight. You just go to and sit back and, like you said, throw popcorn in your mouth and have a big grin on your face as all this crap is going on this big screen.
Oh, yeah. I just want to see stuff blow up. I want to see stuff smashed, crashed, and torn up, and I think that we're going to get that, and that'll be good.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it was very interesting. The sort of things that these Nintendo reps carry around with them, because they always have something cool. If you ever have an opportunity, find out when your Nintendo rep visits your local GameStop and go hang out and just kind of take a peek in their bag. First of all, which really pissed me off, is she gave the girl behind the counter, who, by the way, I don't think could spell DS, let alone knew anything about it.
Oh, you mean BS.
Oh, DS. Oh,
you look like you're full of it.
No, seriously. She gave this person behind the counter a giant Mario Party 8 lollipop.
Bastard.
Fashioned in the shape of like Mario's head. And I was thinking, that's a bunch of crap. Because as soon as this Nintendo rep leaves, she's going to chuck it in the trash, or she's going to give it to a little brother, or some crap like that. And I'm sitting there going, I'm whoring myself out for Nintendo like every single day. Where the hell's my Mario Party 8
Here, Bobby.
lollipop?
Here, Bobby, suck on Mario.
Yeah, suck Mario's head. We're starting to leave the clean and moving to the explicit iTunes.
See if you can fit his hat in your mouth.
Yeah. Fist in your mouth, pal. So anyway, so she,
funny,
and yeah, it is funny. And I peeked in her bag, and I'm thinking, maybe she's got some other exclusive goodies in there. Maybe she can hook me up with
You have
something.
EBA stickers?
You have
for shame?
Yeah. Can I have a EBA? No, but what she had in there, and I was going to see what, if she would sell it to me or something. She had a Pokemon Troze Rubik's Cube.
Whoa.
Dude, it was neat. It had little Pokemon Troze heads on each of the little pieces. And I was thinking, that'd be cool. I'd like to have that, but, she didn't offer, and, I didn't reach my hand in her bag and steal it like I thought about doing. Yeah. I said, what else you got in there? And she showed me, I got to see some coming attraction stuff. She had a bunch of Big Brain Academy stuff for the Wii, So I got to see some cool stuff. I took a couple of pictures. I'll see if I can pull them off the phone and throw them up somewhere so you guys at least can see that cool Mario sucker that is going to go to waste.
What sucks is you probably threw half that stuff out. You know what I mean?
I know.
I'm sure half that crap ends up in the trash. And it'd be cool just to even give it out or something on the show, you know?
Yeah, if you could get me to part with it, because I'm such a whore.
If they were going to throw it out, they could have just sent it over to us here, you know?
Yeah, I need to talk to her about getting on some sort of a list, you know? I mean, they've got to have a list somewhere. I don't know.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting story. And what's funny, the most funny part ever, and this is kind of tips into that gray area, but they didn't have, this is funny, the Nintendo rep showed up on the day that Planet Puzzle League and the Nintendo web browser both are supposed to be released.
Yeah.
So she's there and they don't have either one of them, which I thought was weird.
Well, it's the ghetto. So
it's the ghetto. You know, it's just, I thought it was really funny. And what's funny is that the night before, of course, for those of you in the know, both of these products were available if you know where to go. So naturally, you know, I take a look at this stuff before I buy it. And so I had these sitting on my DS, which actually happened to be with me at the time. And so she's trying to show me, because she actually had a Planet Puzzle League card and a Nintendo web browser card with her. And she's like, well, here, let me show you what Planet Puzzle League looks like. I'm going, played it. You know? Yeah. It's like, you don't need to show me. I'm good.
I have the exclusive on Puzzle League. You might want to see it.
You want to see it? Yeah. How about I show it to you?
Yeah, right.
Let me show you how I've already unlocked half the crap in it. No. But it was just interesting. It's amazing how little Nintendo reps really know.
Yeah.
That's the part that really amazed me. I mean, I had to tell her things about the Nintendo web browser. I told her that it wouldn't play YouTube movies. That seems to be the big thing. Everybody wants YouTube on their portable. Thank you, Apple iPhone, for making that a requirement on every portable device to play frickin' YouTube movies.
That has that feature. Why can't I have it on this device?
Why doesn't the Nintendo web browser let me watch YouTube? So anyway, so I told her, I said, how did it go?
I demand flash animation.
Why can't I play Elf Bowling on the website?
I want the real deal, not the port that the DS got.
Yeah. So we were talking about it, and the rep said, well, how do you like it? And the Target chick, the one that got the lollipop, was right behind us listening. I mean, I guess I could give her credit. She was actually trying to learn something. And I said the browser's cool. It's just really slow. And I mean, it does have good JavaScript, but you know, you can't watch movies or play any audio in it. And the rep's like, what, you can't watch YouTube? And I'm like, why the hell don't you know that? You're the damn Nintendo rep. Why am I the one standing here telling the Target employee what the browser won't do? And the Target gal's like, oh, well, that's good to know. I'm glad you told us, because, you know, obviously.
Yeah, well, you know what? Now give me my lollipop.
Yeah, where's my lollipop? Dude, I could get so Generation Gimme on these people.
Where's my? Well, at least give me a Yoshi cookie.
Yeah, dude, that would own. I want a Yoshi cookie. So anyway, that's sort of a combination story slant editorial about, my experiences this month on the DS.
Target, yes.
The ghetto Target. It's kind of scary. You almost think you should be packing when you go into those places. Fortunately, here in Arizona, it is a right to bear arms state. So literally, you can walk around with a gun strapped to your side. Sometimes when I go into the ghetto Targets and the ghetto Walmarts, I definitely feel like carrying the 9 with me.
Ghetto Target, high noon.
Yeah. All right, moving right along. Let's talk about the Dual Screen Radio Season 1 CD. Now, all of the pre-orders are done. We offered a pre-order, special deal, and all of those have shipped out, even the overseas ones. So we've got the product out there. Unfortunately, we're experiencing some problems with our shipment, ranging from people getting their discs broken in half.
That's the mail service for you.
There's your mail service. So much for using the inexpensive CD mailers. I'm gonna have to go back to the more expensive, more rigid CD mailers. Why doesn't, well, I guess this happens probably with Netflix all the time. They get broken discs.
We used to get Netflix all the time. I mean, even worse probably because they're in paper sleeves. I mean, the sleeves aren't actually that bad, I didn't think. I mean, mine came fine. The master copy I received from you was perfect.
Yeah, I sent that in one of the more expensive mailers.
Oh, I see. Oh.
Yeah, you didn't get one of the cheaper mailers. So much for saving, 75 cents on a mailer. So I guess we have to go back to the dollar mailers that are a little more rigid. Obviously, of course, if you get a broken disc in the mail, we'll be more than happy to replace it. Just drop us a line, catch us on the forums. We'll take care of you. The other thing that apparently we've had a couple of problems with are some people getting some read errors on the disc. I have no idea what's causing that, but if you contact us, we will make it right.
Basically, we're having a Microsoft moment with the discs, pretty much like the 360s, the red LED of death here. Yeah, now we're getting cracked discs, so just bear with us, please. Everything fares along with Microsoft just fine, so.
Yeah, apparently so, but we don't get to release a service pack on this one. Suffice to say, though, again, like I said, don't bear any bad feelings or don't go and say, hey, they sent me a broken disc. Dude, simply just drop us a line. We'll get you another disc out in the mail. I've got replacements sitting here packaged up, ready to go.
And I'm sure this has happened before with Retro Gaming Radio, of course. I mean,
absolutely. We've had problems with that, and it's a growing pain scenario, so trust us, we'll hook you up. Not a problem. And along with that, Chris, you've gotten a chance now. Because, see, I developed the Season 1 disc without Chris's help. I kind of did it on my side of things. So Chris didn't even really know what to expect when he got the master copy for his side.
Yeah, the extras are hysterical. So
absolutely. Well, I was going to have you comment a little bit on someone who has just got the disc sort of fresh.
Yes, I'm doing my own review for our own CD.
Awesome,
yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, I mean, the extras are pretty cool. I like all the little, some of the things I really don't want to hear myself say again. It's kind of embarrassing, at least from my standpoint, but it's kind of interesting to hear. I mean, you could tell we had a couple shows there where things were just bad in terms of technical issues. This was in the past.
Man, this will give you guys a little insight as to what kind of crap we had to go through.
The reason why we get delayed here and there, unfortunately, but the extras are definitely pretty funny. And I think the story time being added is great. The story time music is there. Everybody can listen to that without Shane's mouth on top of it. So everybody should be happy to hear that all alone.
So damn funny, man.
Yeah, no voice, just straight out story time. Put that in a nice little loop and fall right to sleep.
Absolutely.
And of course, the big bonus, which everybody will be delighted to see, is the What's in Shane's Shack feature. Little preview.
It's Shed, but whatever.
Oh, Shed. Sorry, I keep doing that.
Yeah, what's in Shane's Shed? I don't know. I don't know what the Shack thing is.
Sorry, Shed. Excuse me.
Shed.
But yes, it's a very amusing little piece. I'm sure it's unintentionally amusing, but.
Not necessarily. I am an entertainer after all.
But it's a cool little preview. It's a nice little bonus. I know my members of the family are anxious to see it themselves.
So we got some good stuff on the disc there for you. And of course, all the shows from the first season.
Yes.
In their original glory. So for those of you who've been missing out, who are dying to catch some of the earlier shows, and I'll tell you, some of the early shows are just absolutely great. So
yeah, I think one of my favorites. I think one of my favorites was the one where you when the DS Lite had just come out and you received your import.
That's a great show, wasn't
it? And we just sat there and battled off some questions from the forums. I mean, I think. That show actually, I think, got a lot of hits. I mean, it's one of our biggest shows, I think, because everything was so new at the time, and nobody had really gone online and spoke about it in depth. How great the little system, the light version of the DS was. I mean,
there were lots of technical reviews, but it wasn't like from an everyday guy. Yeah,
I mean, this is stuff that was all personal. This was personal opinion And on top of that, I mean, like I said, everybody was calling in, or not calling in, but leaving messages. Look, I'm already getting used to the Skype service that we're planning.
I know.
Right?
I know, isn't that great?
Leaving questions in the forums, and we were playing them on the air, and I think a lot of people just liked hearing themselves being mentioned and things. It was pretty fun. I like that. That was one of my favorites.
Everyone likes to hear themselves on there, so it's good stuff. So anyway, moving along. That actually segues great into the one of our new features. We do have a Skype voicemail box set up now to capture your calls. The address, the Skype name is Dual Screen Radio, all one word. I know it's very original, right? You couldn't have figured that one out. But you can give a call. It's set up for always answering on the voicemail. Call us up. I think I have limited to a 2-minute message. And, of course, we're going to play some of the more interesting ones on the air. So don't leave us a message if you don't want to be put on the air. So I know someone's going to say, well, I left you a message in confidence. I didn't think you were going to play it on a forum.
I'm waiting for that one to come along. Yeah.
It's like, no, listen, if you're going to leave a message, just expect that it could be played on the air. It's just that simple.
Yeah, whatever you say on that voicemail is open season, buddy.
And trust us, we if you say something really dumb, we're going to call you on it and we're going to have fun with you on the air. Don't let that stop you from calling. But, just expect that, we're going to have a little bit of fun with you. I mean, that's the whole point of this, right? Is to come up with some great content.
Plus, I've heard this on other shows, too. Instead of just doing a email thing, they'll just go right to the voicemail, instead of email. And since our email, it seems like we haven't really been getting a lot of traffic in email these days outside of technical concerns or things on the database, things of that nature.
And stature.
Yeah, stature, yes.
Look here.
Smell of honeysuckle, which is not even the season. Yes.
Screed.
But, it'll be great. I mean, I can't wait to hear some of the messages that come in. And
we can't wait to hear you guys' calls.
I mean, we have a strict, quality assurance team here, so we're looking for some really good calls. And, it doesn't necessarily have to be a goofy call or anything. I mean, we're looking for anything that sounds interesting.
And listen, don't have to kiss our asses to get on the air. If it's something that's thought-provoking or something like that.
I'm sure people won't be kissing our ass. I'm not even...
Yeah, probably not. No. Most people don't call in to kiss ass. They call in
There's not going to be a kissing ass going on here. Right.
But that's okay, though. I mean, I want to hear everything, so...
Well, it'd be cool. I mean, if you have anything to do, I mean, or to say, I mean, it'll be cool hearing from some of the, the international callers, too. That'd be cool, because...
Absolutely. That's some of the reason... Yeah, I mean, it's stateless. Everybody can be on here. I think that's great.
Worldwide. What's cool is I know we have a lot of guys from the UK and, we got a couple guys from Sweden, places like that. It'd be just kind of neat to get in touch with everybody here. If it's just to drop us a line to say we suck, whatever. I mean, it'll just
whatever.
Neat to hear.
Good.
Yeah.
We like that. All right, moving along. 2 reviews for you this episode. We're going to take a look at the amazing technical achievement known as Brothers in Arms on the Nintendo DS and Planet Puzzle League, which is the latest of the Nintendo Touch generation titles.
Yes.
Total quality product. I just can't wait to talk about these things. These are 2 games that I've been desperate to talk about, and now we get to. Very cool.
Absolutely.
I think Chris nodded off over there. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was in mid-yawn. The show's already putting me to sleep.
Nice.
Just recovering.
Hopefully the listeners aren't sleeping in the background right now. That'd be a plus. Okay, let's start off with
Brothers. If you fell
Brothers.
asleep, please leave us a message at our voicemail, and please let us know.
Yeah, let us know you fell asleep. Let's start off with Brothers in Arms. Now, most of you probably know I'm not big into this World War II combat gaming. I think it's an overdone genre. I think it's been done way too many times, especially the PC FPS, the console FPS versions. It's just, how many do we got to have before it's enough?
Right. Well, I mean, how many times are we going to storm the beaches of Normandy,
Obviously, we can't storm it enough.
Right. It's to the point now where they're kind of stretching things a little bit. It used to be the core group of guys. Now it seems like we're really stretching on where the World War II really kind of took us. I mean, it's just, I think they're running out of ideas. That's the reason. So we're seeing a lot of new locales that aren't quite as exciting, or I guess interesting, so to speak, in mainstream culture as something like, Grandpa Joe storming the beaches of Normandy, in France. So we're seeing some diversity in terms of locale in these games. But either way, the thing is, we're doing the same thing over and over. Shooting Nazis, throwing grenades, completing missions.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I mean, it's like, when Quake came out and when every game just seems to need to be endlessly copied for like 5 years before someone will come up with something new, and then everybody copies that.
Right.
And this was an example of, it's like, oh, yay, another World War II game. Woo!
And especially but then I looked at like Brothers in Arms. I mean, this is probably the 4th or 5th game of that series alone. Because we have 3 pretty much mainstream World War II first-person shooter, I guess.
Franchises.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to say it. I mean, we have Medal of Honor, which started it all back on the original PlayStation.
Yep.
Which is still to my day possibly my favorite World War II first-person shooter. I mean,
absolutely.
Barring the graphics at the time, I mean, as of now, it's still a fantastic shoot 'em up. I mean, it was all new at the time, and even in the closing credits, it showed the guys who programmed the game going through boot camp during the credit sequence. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, if you have not gotten a chance, don't say, oh, well, I played Medal of Honor on the PC and blah, blah, blah. No. The PlayStation 1 version of Medal of Honor is unique. It was never captured on any other console or on the PC. You have to play the PlayStation 1 version.
There's something about the gameplay of it, and I really can't pin it down, but
I can't pin it down either, but it's different.
It's still most of them just feel like the same game over and over and over, but something about the original PlayStation version of the game puts itself a notch higher in terms of being different, and I really can't describe why. And of course, the other series is the Call of Duty series, which I think is now in their fourth incarnation.
Yeah, the fourth one's coming out. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course we have Brothers in Arms, which I think has at least 2 or 3 different titles on the consoles, and here's the DS version now, which is basically, for all intents and purposes, a cell phone port.
Yeah, and I actually got to play the cell phone version, so I'm going to give you some comparing and contrasting
insights. Yes.
Some insights while we're playing, or while we're talking, rather. So the first thing that Brothers in Arms really sells you on are the screenshots. And the DS typically, as we've said a million times, the DS does not sell on screenshots. It sells on video.
Right.
If you look at a screenshot of a typical DS game, you go, man, that looks like crap. But once you see it in motion, once you see how clean it looks, then it's like, this looks a lot better.
Especially a game that's in 3D, such as this.
Absolutely. But Brothers in Arms, however, looked absolutely fantastic in screenshots. I mean, you look at the screenshots and you go, man, this looks incredible. Right?
Yeah.
And so you watch a couple of videos that they post and you're going, man, that looks really, really good. That was PlayStation Portable. Anyway, so So I was very curious to see if this thing could really stand up in terms of, I mean, it looks like a console video game. It doesn't look like a handheld game. It certainly doesn't look like a handheld, quote, DS version of a console game. It looked like an actual console game.
Yeah.
So we were very eager to get our paws on it and check it out. Now, the game features 16 different missions, and there's tons of different weapons for you to use. Bazookas, sniper rifles, grenades. I think you even go hand to hand if you get close to the enemy.
Yeah, you can. I think it will kind of automatically switch over to a first person combat kind of thing where you can kind of deck the guy with your weapon if you're close enough.
Right. And the game features various types of missions, including a paratrooping mission. Well, not really a mission. It's more like the intro. You get to paratroop into the whole thing. You drive vehicles.
Tank,
you
Jeep.
work on foot, tank, Jeep. You'll go against all sorts of different types of enemies, including people, vehicles. At one point in time, you have to take out a train. Again, very, it's a very, very console-feeling game. Now, so we've talked about how cool it looks. The sound is great. The ambience is great. The Nazis, put a pair of headphones on. It's amazing. The Nazis yelling at you in German. It's all very, it's got great ambience. And it's actually pretty fun to play. The control scheme is very similar to, Metroid Prime Hunter.
The control scheme is pretty much dead on Metroid Prime Hunter. So obviously the first thing you're thinking about when we mention that is, oh my God, my hand. You're going to cramp up like a motherfucker. So, it's just holding that same kind of grasp. You got your one finger up on the left button, the left trigger, and you have your thumb down here on the D-pad, and your right hand is holding the stylus. You're barely grasping the DS as unit itself with pretty much those 3 last fingers of your hand. Your pinky, your middle, and your ring finger. whereas the other fingers are using the move. So the stability there is going to work your muscles like anything can be. Oh, especially if you're laying down in bed, which is where I do a lot of my playing for review purposes.
Yeah.
My hands
course.
will start cramping up horribly in bed if I'm laying down.
You sure you had the DS with you when that happened? Oh, never mind. Sorry. I had to slide outside the box just a little bit on that one.
Now, real quick before I forget, I'd like to also point out that in the way, although the control scheme itself is pretty similar to Metroid Prime, your viewing angle is not anything like Metroid Prime. It's first person, but at the same time you're looking behind the shoulder of your soldier.
Right.
So,
it's third person.
Right. So I guess you could say it's almost a similar. It's not quite similar to like a Tomb Raider kind of thing because she's in the middle of the screen. In this, you're more like kind of off center a little bit, so you can kind of see the screen, but at the same time, your character is in the screen as well, so you can see where he's going, and that way you're able to shoot. Now the perspective is very similar to an Xbox game. I think it was also on PlayStation 2, but I played it on the Xbox. A game that is now found in the clearance bin for about $5. But I thought it was a lot of fun, called Kill Switch. Anybody who's played that game will probably feel right at home with this game because it's a lot of duck and cover and fire, return fire, duck and cover. And I know you're not a big fan of those type of games. This isn't really one of those. It's not like other Medal of Honors or Brother in Arms where you're just kind of rushing forth into combat, out of the eyes of the soldier with your gun at the bottom of the screen. The gameplay does have a different feel to it, a different spin to it on how you're handling the movement and whatnot. It's also, I dare say, almost like a miniature version of Gears of War. I know it's blasphemy. I know this is unbelievable for me to say, but stylistically, the gameplay, regardless of how the graphics look, the mechanics of it are very similar because it's duck and cover, shoot, return fire, run, duck and cover. You're taking advantage of the sandbags or walls or anything that you can duck behind because as soon as you move your character up to a set of sandbags or a trench or a wall in general that the game indicates is cover, your character will crouch down or kind of get behind it automatically. And when you hold the left trigger down and you aim with the stylus, your dude's gonna pop up enough that you can fire over the obstruction to get a shot off. So it's very similar in those respects. So.
And visually speaking, I'm telling you, these guys have pulled every trick out of the hat to make this work. Put it this way. Everything, the mortar explosions, the explosions where the dust pops up into the air and that big poof.
Right.
To me, that is absolutely the most cool effect ever, and they pulled it off on a DS. And you look at it going, that is incredible. If you ever want a game strictly to make your PlayStation portable buddies actually pay you some props, this is the game you want to show them. Now, that's not to say it's perfect.
Mm-mm.
And let's talk about the real problem with this game for me. This is really hard to explain.
It's a World War II shooter game?
No. Let's take out for the fact that I'm sick of World War II shooters. Let's talk about it from a mechanical point of view. Back in the old days, you old farts like me will remember a little game called Duke Nukem 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Still one of my absolute favorite first-person shooters of all time.
Absolutely.
The pipe bomb is the bomb. Anyway, we used to play it over a 50-foot serial cable between our dorm rooms.
Yep.
And it's funny, there's cable going across the floor. But we're playing this, and the problem with playing over a serial cable is that there's a little bit of lag. And what happens is the game tries to compensate for the lag by dropping frames. Well, in this incarnation of Brothers in Arms, instead of dropping frames, they lower the frame rate at key times when there's too much stuff going on. My problem with that is it's not as disturbing as you might think it is, because you're almost expecting it to because you're playing this awesome console game on a DS. My problem is, and believe it or not, other people share this malady with me, I get motion sick if the frame rate of a game is not at a lock solid, steady 30 frames per second or higher. With Duke Nukem 3D, when we used to play over the serial cable, after about an hour, I would be queasy as hell, ready to start puking because the illusion doesn't, the illusion of motion isn't maintained enough, and I don't know, my brain does something weird, whatever happens, I get motion sick. This game, after about an hour of play, got me motion sick because the frame rate, while it doesn't drop too far, it's not completely obnoxious. It's enough to where my body doesn't respond right, and I start getting queasy, which is really sad because I really want to play this game because it's fun. But if you are one of those people that if you're not playing a rock solid 30 frames or higher all the time and you get queasy, this game's going to do it to you. And that's really unfortunate. I would have rather them lowered the overall frame rate or closed in the viewing distance or something to try to avoid that.
Yeah.
But a lot of, most people don't have a problem. But it's something that unfortunately I have to report that I can't really play the game because I get frickin' sick.
So even on the DS version, you kind of got a little nauseated?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I played through the first couple of missions and it's like, I can't play this anymore.
Interesting.
Or I'm going to have to take some Dramamine or something.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. That being said, I mentioned the drawing distances. It's very impressive. This is a very impressive 3D engine. The drawing distances are amazing.
Yeah.
It is
just the environments themselves, the structural environments of the levels are pretty impressive.
Things are destructive. You can blow up
Yep.
buildings.
Especially
you can
in
blow
the tank.
up walls. Yeah. It's very cool. You can move and independently fire with the tank, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very impressive game, and if you are into this genre, this has to be on your list. You have to own this game. Again, if you have the problem with the motion thing, or if it really pisses you off when games drop frame rates, this may piss you off from time to time. But suffice to say, it's a very solid action game. People have been waiting forever for this on the DS. You finally got it. Now, Chris, tell them the bad part.
The bad part, in my opinions, are we've already mentioned the frame rate, but unfortunately, the game just doesn't have very much in terms of length. I've kind of blew through the game in only a few hours, and I'm sorry to say, as much fun as I had with the game, I wanted more. Every time I would end a level, I would say, all right, here's another one. Great, I'm having fun. I got to the last level, and it kind of just ended, and that was it. And I'm saying, wait a minute. This is it? Nothing more? I wanted to keep playing.
That's your standard game.
I was having a lot of fun.
It's like at the end of Diablo 2. You win.
Yeah.
What? That's it?
Climatic ending, big time. Yeah. I mean, Diablo, you nailed it. I mean, I think I beat that in one day. It wasn't a very long game. And a day or two, and I was just like, I can't believe I already beat this game. Because after all the exploration and whatnot is over with, the game time itself is really very limited. This game, it starts out with a nice, beefy, basically the game is set up in, I think it's four? I think 4 different types of mission, campaigns rather. And then in each campaign you have a variety of different little missions. Now, the game started out with something I think 6 missions. But then the next campaign, I think only had about 4, and then the last one only had about 3, something like that. And I can't remember because they're all different. But I was very disappointed at the length of the game, and as much as I really liked the game, the length of it really bothered me. But yeah, I mean, other than that, the frame rate being a little wacky all over the place, which then again I'm willing to forgive because the game is just moves so well. Even though the frame rate kind of borks out a little bit on you here and there. It maintains, and it's never enough. It's never enough that you're going to say the game ruined this for me because
exactly,
it's not enough to deter your gameplay. If it freezes up or gets a little slow, usually it's happening when something else is going on that you're not a part of, like a building collapsing or something. It cuts away and shows you something.
Yes.
But very, very rarely does enough information get on the screen to the point where it's going to slow you down and screw you over. So, but
yeah. Now, let's talk about the longevity part of this game, the multiplayer aspect. Now, normally I have an opportunity to play these games at length with multiplayer because I have all my friends at work that have DSs and we throw down. This time I only got a chance to play a one-on-one multiplayer, which I'll tell you right now. First of all, the multiplayer is multi-card, so everyone's going to have a copy of the game, which is expected. There's no way you're going to DS download this whole thing.
It's a big game.
You have tons of different levels to play on. Unfortunately, unlike some multiplayer shoot-'em-up games, the levels aren't really designed for a particular number of players. I think it was Unreal, that had different levels say, okay, if you're going to play 2 people, then use these smaller levels. If you're going to play 4 people, then play this bigger level. They kind of tailor the level to the number of players that are going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, this wasn't the case. With the 2 of us, we played in this warehouse. And the level is so big, you literally run around for like 5 minutes. You never see each other because it's so big and there's only 2 of you. However, I'll tell you, it's a very solid multiplayer game once you actually do find the other person. You get to mow them down. It's well done. The sound effects are well done in terms of letting you know when the enemy's near you, what location he is through the stereo separation. So it's actually a pretty fun little multiplayer game. If you're into pure multiplayer, you've got friends. This is not playable online. So you're going to have to play local, which kills a lot of people's buzz because a lot of people don't have 3 local friends to play with. This allows you to play up to 4 people at one time. So if you've got a bunch of local friends, you're all planning on picking up the game, that may be where the longevity of this game tends to work out. We only played on a couple of levels, and the levels were well designed in terms of, placement and spawning points and all the things that you'd care about in an FPS. But unfortunately, like I said, they didn't really tailor the levels based on how many players that you had available in the game. So It's a fairly solid multiplayer experience. Just plan on having 4 people there. Otherwise,
and those 4 people, though, are going to have that cartridge, too, so...
Absolutely.
I don't know how far the multiplayer is going to go. I completely beat this game, and pretty much over the course of 2 nights in bed. So that kind of tells you right there what to expect. It was a lot of fun. I think overall I'm going to probably have to give it, this is very hard to review, this game, because I want to give it a high grade just for its technical achievement and its gameplay being literally a lot of fun, a blast. But on the other hand, the length of it just doesn't seem like it could justify the full price. I mean, what is this game going for? Is this a $35 game?
It's a $29.99 game, so it's $30.
Man, it's very hard. I mean, I gotta recommend the game, but at the same time, I can't recommend it because of its length versus the price value. But I'm gonna go out and say I'm gonna give it a high stylus. I'm gonna give it a stylus up because it's really the only game of its kind on the DS. If you are into military, first person, third person, whatever you want to call it, shoot 'em ups, it's a very, very well done game, which is shocking to me. I didn't have much really going for it because of the fact that it was a port from a old cell phone game, which in itself played like crap. But it looks like they really tweaked it nicely for the DS version. So they should be congratulated for that. Plus, it's a Ubisoft game, so anytime a Ubisoft game comes out and it's actually good, that's pretty good in my books. Since
that's nice.
Yeah, I'll give it a stylus up. I can't diss the game. It's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it. Just the shortness of it, and I would really factor out the multiplayer because unless you know somebody that's going to be playing this game with you in terms of going to also be buying the cartridge, you're not even going to be playing it. So I wouldn't even factor that into your purchasing. So,
I went ahead and pulled down the cell phone version of it just so that I could kind of get a feel for.
And it was everything you imagined it would be.
Yes, I was totally blown away. I put my DS in the trash that very day. Yes. No, actually, the cell phone game, as always with cell phone games, and I don't care what anybody says, controls are king when it comes to video gaming, and I haven't met a cell phone yet that has good enough controls for me to play even a simple puzzler, let alone something complex like a 3D shooter. The cell phone version was very limited. There was let me put it to you this way. Do not base your DS thoughts on if you've played the cell phone version. If you got the cell phone version and you didn't like it, don't automatically assume that the DS version is going to suck, because it doesn't.
All right.
The cell phone version kind of sucks.
How much did the cell phone version cost you?
Oh crap, I don't remember. I think it was like $6, $7,
yeah.
Something like that. But that's how they've got to price those cell phone games.
Right.
they've got to price them. I mean, if you can't go over a 2-digit number, otherwise people wig out. So you got to have it under $10.
Sure.
But the DS version, the control scheme, being able to use the touchscreen to independently control your tank turret, those sort of things, the game is a far better experience on the DS. Definitely worth the extra cash. I'm with Chris on this one. I'm really itching to go down to a middle stylus, mainly because it made me sick. But
do what you
literally,
have to do, man.
Literally, it made me sick. But I understand that I am not the majority of people, and most people will not fall victim to this. So I have to base my review and my ranking on the couple of levels I did play, which was an outstanding experience. It was way fun. The audio, to me, the ambience of the game really sold me on it, especially when you put a set of headphones on.
Well,
I mean,
every time I play it, I would sit there and I would say to myself, I can't believe I'm playing this on a handheld. You know what I mean? It's
right.
Just, I know this is kind of crazy for all you people who are graphic horrors and whatnot, and for people who love the PSP that are used to just seeing something like this on a portable. But, I don't own a PSP, and honestly, as of yet, I don't see a whole lot of things that are, I don't know, as realistic looking. I mean, for the most part, the graphics are nice, but something like this, it just, because it's a World War II kind of combat game, something you'd see on a console or a PC, it really threw me for a loop. I couldn't get that out.
Nice.
Because I sat there and I said to myself, look at all this cool stuff going on this little tiny screen. I mean, this is the DS, and I said, this is pretty cool. This is pretty impressive, and I think it's really amazing how far we've come in terms of just handheld gaming overall. When you can sit here and play a game like this that's normally suited for a console, and they really pulled it off in this case.
Yeah.
So,
and you're going to find that the length of time that you're going to spend on the game is probably the killer factor.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it a stylus up because it is a crowning achievement on the DS. What I will tell you is I have a couple of conditions with the stylus up. First of all, understanding that it's a short game and you go in with your eyes open, knowing that you could literally sit down in the morning and have it done by nighttime. That's something you got to take into consideration. Second, the game will have a lot more value if you have a multiplayer scenario that you can work with. In other words, other people have the cart and you can get together and play with them. I think you will find it an absolutely fantastic game, and you will not feel robbed at all. Honestly, if you want my opinion, because the game is so short, I would not be surprised, I should say, to expect to see it in the bargain bin or rather used copies available very, very soon at half the price of retail, because I think that while tons of people are going to pick it up, our generation, the new generation of gamers, tend to finish it and sell it back as soon as possible. And this game is going to be one they can finish and sell back the same day they buy it.
So yeah, and for me, I'm in that range now where I have to get a game done and over with because I got so many other games to play.
Yeah.
That I want to spit it out. Plus my time itself, my game time. I don't watch TV for the most part, so that's pretty much my game time,
Yeah.
And something like the DS makes things easier. So for me, I have to sit and spend time with a game because I'll get distracted and I'll lose track of what I'm doing. I've mentioned this on our show, so I sat and just played this game and played it until I finished it. And I think it was probably about 3 or 4 hour game time at the most. Which, if you think about it, there's some other games out there that have lasted just easily as long, and we've recommended. But, I think the only other thing I would recommend is for people who have carpal tunnel to avoid the game.
Yeah, if you could not handle
Honestly.
the control scheme, if you couldn't handle the control scheme in Metroid Prime Hunters and that made you mental, I'd take a pass on this one. The controls are not complicated, but they are a bit on the tight side, and your hand will get cramped. And maybe that can make the game drag out a little bit. You have to take an hour break in between levels or something just to let your hand kind of settle down. But otherwise, I mean, the game is literally a technical masterpiece on the DS, and it's deserving of the stylus up, especially the fact that it was a cell phone port. And Gameloft, the developers, it was published through Ubisoft. Gameloft, who have given us some real trash games, cell phone games in the past, ported to the DS, really got their act together, and I like to reward effort properly with a good score. So stylus up
Awesome.
from both Chris and myself.
You know, a little off tangent here. I gotta say, I got my new cell phone, and I've already told you this. And speaking of cell phone games, you know, and speaking of Game Loft, I went and I said, you know, I have to have at least one game for my new cell phone. You know, just for those times where I don't have the DS handy, or I get dirty looks for bringing the DS with me. So I always have my cell phone with me, and you know, usually it's on Viber or something. But for those moments where I need something to entertain me because I can't sit still for 5 minutes, I figured I gotta download at least one game. So I went through, and I have Verizon, so I checked out their online site because you can get previews of the games and whatnot. Checked out some of the reviews. I found like Burger Time and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, man, Burger Time, I'd love to maybe get that. But they totally screwed up the graphics. I just don't like the way they did the graphics, Hudson. But speaking of Game Loft, I found, and I couldn't believe this, and this is related to the Nintendo DS, of course. Medios. They made a little mini Medios for the cell phone, courtesy of Game Loft. And Q Entertainment, of course, but I don't really think they had a lot to say in the matter. It's called Medios Astro Blocks, and it's shockingly pretty fun. I mean, it's certainly nowhere near the caliber of the DS edition. You know, a lot of the gameplay elements have been, severely downgraded, but considering what it is, a little cell phone game, and the fact that it was actually one of the cheaper ones at $5, really made it a pretty cool buy. Obviously, you can't move the pieces on this one. You don't have the stylus, so you can't just kind of fling pieces around like you could. Instead, in this one, you have a little, cursor. And as you've already said, the controls for these games are terrible. I mean, the buttons just don't work, which is why I figured I'd limit myself to something that I knew would be minimal, in terms of buttons, and would only use maybe the D-pad and the center OK button to select a piece. So you have a little, aiming pointer, and you put it over top of your block that you want to move. And instead of being able, like I said, to fling it up and down, left, whatever, through a whole string of blocks, you can only move it in one of 4 directions. And it may be a little limited, but I found that it actually pays off pretty well, and it's a nice little mini version of the game. Once you move the block over and you connect 3 or more of the same color, it'll launch them into the sky. And at the top, there's a little meter from your planet to Medios, who's actually the bad guy of the game. I think that's his name, right? Medio? And it's a big evil planet that's trying to overtake the galaxy. As you launch these blocks, you have a set amount that you have to launch, and as you launch them, the little meter will fill up closer and closer and closer to the evil Medio, and that'll end the stage. So the gameplay elements are similar, but at the same time are different to fit the medium, and the device itself. But for $5, I just wanted to say I give it a recommendation. It got really good reviews online too, so you can check it out. A lot of the UK sites, there's a lot of UK sites out there. They love their mobiles and mobile gaming in the UK and Japan, so you'll find a lot of international sites suiting for this kind of stuff. But considering Medios was a Nintendo DS game, I just thought I'd throw that out there because I don't really buy a lot of cell phone games, so just thought I'd give you a heads up.
Yeah.
Wanted to throw that in.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. Nice segue review there. All right. Well, that about concludes our look at Brothers in Arms for the DS. To style us up, that's good. We're starting to get some real diverse gaming on the DS, and I think that's what it's all about. I'm not opposed to modern type games on the DS as long as I get my fill of the other stuff.
Yeah. And
speaking of the other stuff, it's a good time to talk about Planet Puzzle League. A.K.A. Tetris Attack, A.K.A. Panel de
Pon, yes.
A.K.A. a great puzzle game. So, Chris, you have a better history of the whole Tetris Attack.
Jeez, I knew you were going to do this to me.
I'm going to let you start off. Dude, no one wants to hear me talk the whole time. So why don't you go ahead and give the sort of the
voicemail. Shut up, Monroe. Shut up. You're making my ears bleed.
Shut up. You're making my ears bleed. Let Chris talk more.
Let the Chris lad talk.
Yeah, don't you love our horrible British accents? We're not meaning to offend anybody with that, by the way. That's just how bad it really is. How did they say it in Mrs. Doubtfire? Oh, your accent. You've never seen Mrs. Doubtfire?
No.
You've got to be kidding me.
No.
Well, he acts like a British nanny, right?
Oh, well, no, I know that part.
Yeah. And so this is a great segue story. We got to tell this one. So Pierce Brosnan is his ex-wife's new new boyfriend. So the new boyfriend comes over to meet the infamous Mrs. Doubtfire, and he's like, oh, I have a place in London. Where are you from? And so he's like trying to BS his way through this whole thing because he's never even been out of the country, and he's like, your accent is a little muddled, right? And he's like, and Robin Williams is like, oh, well, so is your tan. It was funny as hell, dude.
Okay, can we get on with the review, please?
Yeah, shut up. I'm having. Look at Chris trying to keep us on task. Look at you. Okay, back to Planet Puzzle League.
You just made it all worse for our international callers now.
I know. We're gonna get tons of hate mail from the UK people.
This is me, Rick, and I have to say, you two bastards sound like complete shite.
Bunch of lime bastards you are.
You limey American Yanks.
Yeah, you Yanks. Yeah. Okay, please continue, Chris.
Well, anyway, Planet Puzzle League is the updated version of Panel Dupont and Tetris Attack, as Shane has already happily mentioned, for the Nintendo DS system. Nothing's really changed. The core gameplay is there. Anybody who's played either of those titles in the past, since they've been over a plethora of systems, well, Nintendo systems that is, kind of have the gist of what's going on when they buy it. It comes down to your typical puzzle, what do you want to say? How are most of these puzzle games? What's the first thing you think about in these puzzle games? Connecting things, right?
Yes, right.
So, in this case, you have to connect 3 or more blocks in a row. They disappear. Okay, we've seen this a million times over in various games. Puyo
Nothing
Pop.
to see here.
Yes, Puyo Pop, Medios. A little spin there is different, but dare I say Tetris to a point. Anyway, connecting pieces, making them move. That's what you do here. You can move them up, down, left, and right. Or if there's nothing next to them, they will drop down to the next layer below. So pretty much that's the basic synopsis of the game. There's different modes. There's endless mode. The pieces will drop from the top, or not drop from the top. What am I saying? I'm thinking of Medios. They will come up from the bottom. And your core, you can't let it reach the top. Some of the core game modes are puzzle, clear, multiplayer. There's certain ones where you have to clear a level of the blocks within a certain amount of moves. We've seen this before as well. There's the clear mode, which you have a line at the bottom of the screen that, as the blocks move up, will come onto your screen, and that's your finish line, so to speak. So once you've cleared enough blocks to reach that finish line, the stage is over, you can continue on. This gets increasingly difficult as you go ahead in the game. I think I played easy. Was it easy? I think I cleared to begin with. I usually start myself with easy, then medium. I move myself up. Even the easy levels, by stage 6, man, it was getting hard. I was sweating my head off just trying to finish through some of these stages. They come at you left and right, and the thing is just flying up. The speed is the difficulty factor here, the speed at which the blocks rise. Now, what's great is for the first time now, instead of using a D-pad to move the blocks, you have access to, naturally, the DS's stylus, which makes the gameplay a lot more faster to kind of connect the gameplay field, connect the blocks, do just your motions in general. So that's a nice little new spin to the gameplay. I think a lot of people who are hardcore fans of the game in the past and have played with the D-pad are slowly but surely moving over to the touch screen and the stylus control, just seeing as it's an improvement. And then also a couple other factors which we'll get to, including the online play, where, well, we'll talk about it a little bit, but let's just say if you're not using the touch screen and you're playing against somebody if you're using the D-pad and you're playing against somebody who's using the touch screen, prepare to get your butt chewed out, because you're going to be moving and playing things a lot faster with the stylus than you are with the D-pad. So it kind of gives an unfair balance to the fact. It's almost similar to what we were talking about before in the old Tetris review, about using where the place, the piece placement is going to be, where you get the outline on the bottom piece.
Yes.
Of where you're going to sit that piece in, how some people use it and some people don't, and how the people who use it have an unfair advantage over the people who don't. So it's kind of similar in that respect. But, the old gameplay is the same. The only thing that's changed for the most part is there's really no basic themes. In the old Tetris Attack for the Super Nintendo, it was a real kind of quote-unquote Nintendified theme because you had, Yoshi and various characters from the Nintendo games, mostly Yoshi characters. You'd have Koopas and whatnot, the Wizard Koopa guy and all this stuff in the background, little animations moving. And in this game, it's almost like Nintendo kind of took a little bit of a piece of pie from the Lumines series of games on the PSP, and trying to create some kind of a audiovisual kind of theme. There's psychedelic colors going on. There's just all these weird kind of retro-looking flashing and disco lights, and the music is very it's more of a synth kind of sound to it. Organ, keyboards, lots of electronica going on in this game. So it's very similar in turn to Luminous. So that kind of disappointed me a little bit. I really was hoping we'd get a little bit of the Nintendo flavor, kind of like what we saw on Tetris DS.
Yeah.
With little characters running around. I thought that was pretty cool. It really spruced things up a bit from the boring old Russian setting that we've been used to for the past 20 years now.
Right.
And since this was a Nintendo created, IP and everything, I was hoping we'd get a little bit of that. But I think there was at least one stage from the original game that is not in the U.S. version, that is in the Japanese edition of this game. Over there, it's called Panel de Pon, which is its usual name for the Japanese release. You may also remember this game from Pokemon Puzzle League. I think was that Pokemon Puzzle League? I can't remember. It was on the Nintendo 64. And that was one of the last games released. Same thing, except in this case they had Pokemon-themed levels. So even if you played that, that's pretty much what you're going to get with this game. Some of the younger listeners may have grown up playing that instead of the Super Nintendo Tetris Attack. Pretty much that's pretty much all there is to say. I mean, you have a few power-ups in there that are thrown into the basic single-player game. You can connect 4 or 5 blocks, which depending on either 4 or 5 blocks you connected, you will get a differing type of style of time slowdown. Things will slow down more if you do 5 blocks than you would with 4. And it'll give you a little bit of a freeze to kind of catch up on things before the pieces reach the top, because when they reach the top, the game's over. So what did you think about the game, Shane?
Well, let me add, there's one gameplay element that I was waiting for you to kind of touch upon, but
I knew I'm missing something.
Yeah, you're missing something kind of big.
Yeah.
This game, unlike the other billions of games that are similar in nature and stature.
Oh, and that's the one thing. That's the one thing, real quick. I mean, the game is very similar to Medios in terms of gameplay. That's something.
Yeah, except for instead of moving up and down, you move left and right. That's an important point.
Yes.
If you liked Medios and you always thought, hey, I wonder if moving left and right would be more cool than up and down, well, that's kind of what this is. There is one important factor that Chris left out that I want to talk about that to me separates this game from all the other clones. The game is designed to work around a chain system. Especially if you ever plan on playing multiplayer, you can go a long way in this game and not understand how the chain system works. However, if you try to go online or play anybody else who does understand the chain system, you're going to get the floor wiped with your ass, because trust me, this game is designed to be played around chains. What do I mean by chains? The concept is like any other really cool puzzle game. You get bonuses, so to speak, based on the amount of chains that you can make happen. For example, if you can stack pieces so that when 3 go and it drops one of the pieces above it down to form another chain, or to form another 3 in a row or 4 in a row, and then somehow another piece above that falls into place and creates another 3 in a row, and that all happens in the same, quote, turn, you will receive bonuses. The most notable bonus is your pieces will stop moving up. And here's the piece of it that really makes a difference. In most games like Medios or whatever, you're waiting for, okay, this is a better example. Puyo Pop. Puyo Pop uses the chain system. Whereas as pieces, there's a turn and you're the turn has a definitive beginning and end. So if you make a nice, cool, clever stack of colored blocks in Puyo Pop, then you pop the one on the bottom, and they subsequently fall, pop, fall, pop, fall, pop, fall, pop. You start building these chains, and you get more bonus points, and you do bad things to the other guy. But you don't really have control while the pops are going on. You have to elaborately set everything up in advance, and then make that first pop that sets the chain reaction off. In Planet Puzzle League, again, try to follow me on this one, you can actively create chain after chain after chain after chain while other chains are being removed from the board. So literally, you can have a game that is one big, long chain. And why you want to do that is because as you're building these chains, you're stopping the clock, so to speak, on your tower of blocks moving up the screen, which eventually will result in you being dead. So you basically, when you get to these higher levels, I think like I'm on level like 50 something, or on that one particular one, you literally have 4 seconds before the blocks reach the top.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, you could literally go 1, 2, dead. You know.
And then the only way to get out of it is to perform a perfect chain to bring
you
it
have,
down.
And basically you will be having to perfect the concept of proactively making chain after chain after chain after chain. The game is not a simple matter of removing the 3 blocks. You have to make the chains. The best way to force yourself to learn how to do this is to get online. And did we mention it's playable on the Wi-Fi service?
We didn't get there yet.
We didn't get there yet, but when you get on there, you can go into a thing called novice mode, and only people who are getting started are allowed to be in that mode. Once you play for a while and it's obvious you're no longer a novice, they will kick you out of that online game mode so you can't play anymore. That's how all the novice people can, learn from each other. You will learn quickly that once you get online, you will have to perfect the concept of the chain. And I'm a puzzle player, and it took me a considerable amount of time to understand why I was getting my ass handed to me in such a brief period of time. Jump online, and even if you get your ass kicked, instead of playing your own board, watch the other guy playing on the other screen. See how he's elaborately creating these multiple chains after chains after chains. It's a brilliant game. The concept of making those multiple chains is what separates this from all of the other games of a similar vein. Absolutely fantastic. Tons of different gameplay modes, online play. They have different types of online play where you play against the people that have your same birth date. That way you kind of get some sort of a camaraderie type thing.
It's pretty silly, personally, but whatever.
But apparently that's where everybody plays. That's what I'm told. Everybody plays the birthday mode. So
I know some people have been claiming that they're having a horrible time connecting to the Wi-Fi in this particular game for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I see a lot of complaints about that. So, and I think for some reason that's the one section that connects. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it's because everybody's under it. All I know is I played a couple guys from Japan and I got my butt handed to me.
Oh yeah, it's horrible, dude. These guys really know how to play. Now, there is a bonus. Now, let's say that this wasn't all enough, right? Let's say that the great online play, the multiple different play modes, all of the extras, the style and panache of this game are absolutely fantastic. Okay, aside from the fact that it doesn't have the Nintendo IP theming, you can choose your background, you can choose your music, you can choose the pieces that you play with. Very, very cool. Everything's polished exactly like you'd expect a first-party Nintendo title to be. So there's not even any reason to delve deeper into that. It's exactly what you'd hope it would be. The online play, and this is not new, but it's new to people who hate Pokemon, you can actually talk trash during the game while you're playing online with your friends. And I'll tell you what, it's great. Chris and I were playing each other online, and we're sitting here having a conversation the whole time we're playing. It's fantastic. Pokemon, it was like, okay, so you can talk while you're trading, big deal. Tony Hawk Downhill Jam, you can talk in like 5-second bursts or whatever. Goofy, gay crap. This is the first time I've seen real-time chat on the DS where it actually was useful. And I'll tell you what, it's great. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, again, this only works with your friends. You will have to have a friend code for all of your friends, and only your friends can talk to each other. It's not going away, folks. Embrace it. Stop bitching about it. You're not going to get unfettered, non-friend code access to the Nintendo Wi-Fi service.
It'll keep all the child molesters away from me anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to the child molesters. So I'm actually all for it. And later on, we're going to talk a little bit more about the DS Wi-Fi link later on in the show and how this can help you get connected with other people. Like a lot of our listeners have already registered their friend code with us. You can get on and find people pretty easy if you have enough friend codes. So, I can't say enough good about this game. It's definitely worth the buy. It's tons of replay. Now, obviously, if you're not a puzzle fan, if Brothers in Arms is more your kind of game, this may not be the game for you. But if you're at all interested in this genre of game, if you have played and loved Tetris Attack, if you imported and played Panel to Pawn, but now you want to play this in English, this is great. It's a beautiful game. Perfectly executed. I don't know what else to say. Chris?
No, you pretty much covered it all, dude. I mean, although I'll be honest with you, as cool as the voice chat is, I played a few games online with it, and you find yourself concentrating so much on the game field itself that you forget you're even talking, that there's somebody on the other end you can talk to, because you get so caught up in making sure you're getting all the moves and everything. It's almost like you can't drive and chew gum at the same time or something,
Yeah.
So I know that I've noticed that as cool as it is, and it's nice to finally have this, and I hope we see it more and more games from Nintendo and the DS, because it's pretty much the same technology they used in Pokemon. But the problem is, I think we're only going to see it in lesser tech games, and obviously this is one of those games that, although polished and really nice to look at and sounds great and everything, there was just not a lot going on. You probably wouldn't see something like this voice technology in Brothers in Arms.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see it in more games. I just don't think it was as fun as it is to talk to people. I don't think it suits this game as well as something else would.
I'm hoping that once we get really good at the game, where you're not spending your whole time, it becomes more of a.
Yeah, that could be it, because we're in the
that
practice throes of the game. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Otherwise, I'm giving this, and I know this is going to come. Everybody's going to start calling us a cop out, but I have to say I got to give it a full stylus up. Fantastic game. Yeah. So basically, in the end, once again, I'm just going to give this a full stylus up. It's a fantastic game. As we said, it's a shame it's not going to be in the $20 price range, because I think it would be, a little more popular with the regular crowd, especially the people who may not realize it's the old school Tetris Attack Panel to Pawn game. So.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be this will be a popular title for the casual gamers, people looking for another online experience that have been Tetrised out. A great title. Like I said, the online chatting and everything is really, really great. The only reason I could say not to get this game is if you're not into puzzle games. Otherwise, it's like one of the best. These puzzle games just keep getting better and better. And
we got Tetris, Medios, Magnetica.
Oh, we got such great puzzle games on here. Picross is coming.
Picross. I dare even say Zookeeper. I mean, I even.
All right, now you're stretching it out there. If you put it, say Elf Bowling to go in there too.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't go that far. I like Zookeeper. I'm gonna fight you to the end.
Zookeeper's great as a single player game, but I hate it as a multiplayer game. What can I tell you? Okay, so big stylus up for me as well. Obviously, if my drooling over the title wasn't enough for you, it's a stylus up event. Great stuff. Again, I just can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I know it's kind of a cop-out and everything, because I think we're giving a lot of high styluses lately, but...
Well, we just happen to pick games that are good.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, I guess we need to throw a few stinkers in here once in a while.
Maybe we should throw Happy Feet into the next one, and we can blast crap out of that game.
Or no, Surf's Up.
Yeah, Surf's Up. Excellent.
And I'm gonna fuel some hate right here. Transformers DS.
Oh yeah, yeah. We'll be back with that one. We'll definitely have to review that one. That's a huge mainstream title, so we'll have to review that one, even though we're not probably going to be very favorable about it. But let's move on, shall we?
Yes.
Yes. Oh my. Mail sack. Chris, you got an interesting letter from one of our fans.
Well, basically, our last show kind of threw a little bit of heat at us, I think, because our Etrian Odyssey review was kind of putting down, I guess people kind of interpreted our words as putting down some of the Japanese gamers, not gamers, but the RPGs that they play, the Japanese RPG genre, and how we kind of bashed it a little bit. Personally, I don't think that's true, but I did get a message here, and I did ask if it was okay to mention it on the show from one of the forum members, CKR Tech, who I really think probably should have just made it as a forum topic. I think it would have been a pretty interesting thread. And I even mentioned it to him. I said, you shouldn't have just messaged this to me. You should have just made it as a topic in the forum. I think we would have gotten a lot of cool discussion going.
Yeah.
But he basically wrote me a private message that looks like a college thesis. But so I'm just going to take a couple little tidbits out here and just kind of mention these little things to you. He says, in the latest show, the two of you were talking about a new RPG game for the DS, and mentioned how it is definitely not meant for Japanese RPGers, quote unquote. I consider myself quite open to different types of games, so Japanese RPG or Western RPG doesn't really matter, so long as it's entertaining. The problem I had was how, in order to express this, was how the two of you took somewhat of a hostile approach to Japanese RPGs, specifically Final Fantasy VII, in order to make the difference between the new game and Japanese RPGs clear. I understand that you guys don't go for that sort of thing, Japanese RPGs, Final Fantasy VII, etc. But I think you should probably have a decent amount of listeners. That might. I don't really have a major issue when someone disagrees with me over which games are fun and which ones are not. But I think that simply stating the facts, this RPG isn't like Japanese RPGs, and mentioning a few details would have probably been enough inside a public format such as DSR. It's easy for two people that agree on something to continue down that path of confirmation when there was no one there to rebuttal. This is different when those two people are recording a show for many other individuals to hear. So basically, I think what he's trying to say is don't hurt other people's feelings. So, I mean, that's what I got out of it. The thing is, though, the bottom line is this is our show. This is a show that we're going to discuss stuff that is interesting to us, you know. And obviously it's going to have our spin and our opinions on that particular thing we're discussing. Now, Shane and I, growing up, and I think this is one of the things that kind of keeps us so kind of close together in terms of our likes and dislikes, is we had a big fan base for the Commodore 64 in the 80s. And some of the big things we used to play on those Commodore 64 or on the Commodore 64 were those RPGs that were all from Western developers. I mean, back in the time, this was back in the heyday when Electronic Arts wasn't putting out Burnout 4 or Medal of Honor 16. They were putting out games such as Bard's Tale or Legacy of the Ancients, and companies such as Strategic Simulations would put out Questron and Questron 2, and this was the heyday of Ultima, when Ultima was just getting started. Wizardry. These were all Western RPGs. And believe it or not, these are the games that the Japanese companies basically took, for example, and created their own little subgenre for. Something like Dragon Warrior and Final Fantasy were pretty much setting roots from what Western developers had created at the time. Because it took a while for a Japanese RPG to come out. I mean, these Japanese RPGs didn't come out till like the mid to late 80s. And we were sitting here enjoying these RPGs in the lower to mid 80s as it is. So it took a little time for those to show up. I mean, I know in Japan, Wizardry has got a major cult following over there. I mean, they've actually got characters that are all redesigned into that Japanese anime look and whatnot. I don't think we were putting down RPGs, Japanese RPGs. We were merely saying that the style of gameplay that Etrian Odyssey offers. Yeah, so I mean, I was even a fan at the time of Final Fantasy VII until I got to about this 2, and I got completely bored of it. I know it's not fair, I guess, to say, well, this is an older game, Final Fantasy VII, but in the long run, the style of the game, Final Fantasy VII, has not really changed so much over the years. I mean, true, I don't play a lot of Final Fantasy, but I see enough reviews, I've seen enough video footage to know that the gameplay mechanics are pretty much similar. Just in the same way that Etrian Odyssey's gameplay mechanics are extremely similar to all the older RPGs, dungeon crawlers that we've played in the past, Shane and I.
Yeah.
So I think the reason I used Final Fantasy VII was because it's such a well-known, widespread mainstream game. I mean, everybody knows what Final Fantasy VII is, who's in the gaming. And I'm just trying to use that as a relation to the type of game that, most of these Japanese game RPGs are sort of more or less based around. I mean, sure, you get a few that are different. I mean, but for the most part, you have your characters all in the front of the screen, and they're casting spells, and there's hit points and so forth. And sure enough, that's pretty much similar to kind of how Etrian Odyssey works, but the gameplay perspective is completely different. It's very old school, very minimal. There's not a lot of showboating going on in this game.
Yeah.
I don't think we were really putting down. I personally was not a fan of Final Fantasy VII, but that's just personally, that's an opinion. I realize that we're probably not in the majority. I mean, I know a lot of people love the games. I liked Final Fantasy III a lot more. I mean, I blew right through that. I didn't want it to end. So to say we don't like Japanese RPGs is kind of wrong. I mean, I know I have a little bit of a spot. It depends on the type of game it is. A lot of times the artistic merits of the game will kind of come through and make me choose which one in particular I may try. In the past, I've always liked the Lunar series on the Sega CD. I liked Wild Arms on the PlayStation. That was one of my favorite RPGs on that system. But the styling is completely, utterly different than what we used to play on the Western RPGs over here. And even nowadays, I mean, look at some of the newer RPGs that we have for the PC, for instance, such as the Dungeons and Dragon titles that have come out, or Neverwinter Nights and things like that. Diablo. It's a totally different the school of thought. And what we were trying to convey is a game like Etrian Odyssey, which plays like a Western RPG, just may not be something that the people who grew up playing something like Final Fantasy VII are going to come over and say, hey, this is a lot of fun. I think they're going to be smacked in the face with what this is going to be. I think that's why I know one of the in the last issue of EGN when they reviewed it, one of the reviewers gave it a crappy review just based on the fact that you're trudging through a dungeon, you're mapping, and basically he gave it a bad review because of that. And to me, that would give it a good review because that's the kind of gameplay I grew up on,
Exactly.
And that is not the kind of gameplay that a lot of RPG fans that we know nowadays in the last 10, 15 years are accustomed to playing. And I think that's ultimately the kind of point we're getting across.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big enough guy to be able to say, hey, I'm not into Final Fantasy VII, but I understand it's popular. I just don't want people to get the wrong idea and to pick up because RPG is one of those things where for the first year of the DS life, all we heard is, when are we going to get RPGs? When are we going to get RPGs? When are we going to get RPGs?
Right.
And then
it's a dead genre at the time.
Yeah, it was kind of dead, and everyone was like, oh, I can't wait for these. I can't wait for these. And then to have people who are interested more in a Final Fantasy VII type game versus, say, a Dungeon Master 2 game,
right.
I don't want anyone to ever get screwed by our reviews. I mean, that's how important it is to me.
This isn't like some big sprawling epic adventure. I mean, this is dungeon crawling at its best. You run through a labyrinth, you collect items, and you kill monsters, and you collect treasure. What little bit of it there is, and that's pretty much the plot of the game. There really is no epic struggle going on in this game. It's basically to see how far you can get. That's nothing like Final Fantasy VII or any of the other Final Fantasy games that for the most part are some of the most well-played RPGs, around in the genre. So.
Now, I would like to add something. I'm glad we're talking about this again because I think this is important. I have a friend of mine in my martial arts class who is a huge fan of Japanese RPGs, okay? Big fan and has been waiting around a long time for good RPGs to show up on the DS. She's one of those people I was talking about. Where are the RPGs? Anyway, so she's a big fan of that genre, and I let her borrow my Etrian Odyssey, and she absolutely loved it. It's so funny because I told her, I said, I'm happy to loan it to you, but I don't think this is going to be something you're going to like, and, I'm afraid that you're not going to like it. I'm hesitant to loan it to you because it doesn't sound like that's your kind of game. And it turns out I was completely wrong, and she lost her mind over it. So,
yeah,
I guess it's really hard to guess what people are going to like.
And the crazy thing is, this message was pretty much kind of telling us to and as he says it here, if you and Shane are divided on something, the conversation stays a bit neutral or courteous, if you will. The same way I assume it would stay if I were in the room with the two of you guys and you knew I liked Japanese RPGs. The conversation would be different if it were just the two of you talking in private about Japanese RPGs. Well, I don't know about that, because if this guy was in a room with us and he wanted to say some things about RPGs and it would just be back and forth banter, because we would all have our own opinions on the matter.
Exactly.
I mean, the fact it's just a coincidence, I guess you could say, maybe not, that Shane and I kind of grew up from that same era of RPGs. We've been around for a little while in terms of playing these games, and we've watched them change over the years. And the bottom line is this: for all the flack we're getting about Etrian Odyssey and putting down Japanese RPGs, the game is a Japanese RPG. It was created by a Japanese company.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
I mean, I can't even pronounce its Japanese title.
I wouldn't even want to try.
Yeah, I mean, so we're actually we are playing a Japanese RPG. So if we didn't like them, would we be playing it? No.
I don't know. I mean,
we don't have it out for the game itself. Granted, like I said, I don't care for Final Fantasy VII. I tried it back when it was originally launched. I ran right out. I pre-ordered it at the time, and I got through about the second disc or so, and I just got tired of it. And I tired of I just couldn't get over the visuals. I mean, they weren't my style. And a lot of the Japanese RPGs kind of have that set style where, your wizard is a pink-haired girl who looks like she hasn't hit puberty yet, So for me, the artistic style really becomes a factor, because I personally like to have big, giant, threatening-looking dragons with full-fledged Arthurian. I can't even say the dang word. Some kind of knights from the Arthurian times on top of their backs or something. That's why I was always a big fan of the Dungeons and Dragons stuff. I'd rather look at the monsters in the campaign books for that than something in a Japanese RPG anime, looking character. So
yeah.
I can relate. It's more realistic. I like the more realistic look.
Yeah. Hey, nothing personal, guys. Okay, nothing personal. We were simply using a method of contrasting so that we would save you guys from getting the wrong idea about something. So.
And the only reason, like I said, that I chose Final Fantasy VII was because of such a big, huge cult following. I mean, it's still the biggest selling Final Fantasy game of all time.
Yeah.
So it was the first one I picked. I mean, everybody knows about it. So
there you go.
Hopefully that clears things up a little bit.
Yeah. We prattled on for like 10 minutes about it.
So simmer down.
Simmer down now. If you were looking at Donna Summer in the phone book, what would you look under? Summer Donna. Now slow it down. Summer down now.
Okay.
I mean, you Saturday Night Live fans will appreciate that. Okay, moving along. We've got some news.
Got the news. Not a lot of news, but some pretty cool little things.
Some little tiny things, yeah.
Little factoids.
Go ahead, Chris. Begin.
Well, this is another game that we've mentioned numerous times over the course of this show's run, and it's about to hit again, so keep track of it. You can check it off every time you hear it. You can probably start a drinking game based on it.
Absolutely.
P-Cross DS, once again, is now coming to another country, the U.S. Nintendo's finally gotten their minds straight and said to them, let's put this out in the American market, which is always fantastic news to hear. Because even back when we were doing the original review for the Japanese edition, we were hoping that it would come out as a touch generation game, hopefully for $20. I don't think that's going to happen. Unfortunately, they seem to have ditched that $20 mantra. But sure enough, it's coming, and it's coming out July 30th. So we only got about a month to go, and we'll have a full-fledged English version of this game. It's a fantastic little puzzler. So I would be sure to check it out. Even $30, there's a lot of value here. There's tons of levels.
Daily play, online play.
Yep. And you can make your own custom designs. But the other cool thing is we are also getting the downloadable content that is also available in Europe and in Japan.
Yes.
So awesome stuff, dude.
You know what? I stand corrected. You're never going to believe this. I popped onto Amazon, Picross DS, 1999.
Really? Well,
color me corrected.
Fantastic.
Yay.
Even more, no excuse not to pick this game up now.
No
Trust
excuse
us,
whatsoever.
It's a fun game. Fantastic game.
You're going to love it. Oh, and Brain Age 2 that's coming too will also be $20.
Yes.
So it looks like Planet, that is hitting.
August?
Was it August? Let me take a peek here real quick.
I think
You can
it's like
find
August
that
or
in our
September.
database located at dualscreenradio.com.
You know what? I don't know if we have Brain Age 2 in
We
our
do. I put it in
database.
there the other day.
Oh, did you? Oh, good,
Yeah.
good.
August 20th is when that's coming out.
Because you know what? I knew there was a couple I meant to put in there, and that was one of them.
Yes. Yes, that was one I said, hey, I don't understand why this isn't in here, so I put it in.
Yeah, I don't know.
So there you go.
But see, I know a lot of times you'd like to have some concrete information before we put it in there.
Yeah, we'd like to at least have a box shot of some sort, you know.
Because you go to so many sites, and they try to do a similar thing for this, like a database. And basically, it's like, click here for information about this game. And you click it, it says no art. It says no art available, and it
No
says
description.
like Nintendo DS puzzle, and that's it. Yeah. And I don't like that. I like to have something. I mean, even if it's a box art released date, whatever it is, something's got to be in. Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Description. So, hey, why don't you take the next little news item, because I know that was something that you kind of blew onto the forums about the other day, and it's causing a commotion over.
Yeah, this amazes me, and there's at first it doesn't seem so amazing, but then you think about its impact. For a brief moment, I believe it was on Monday, during stock trading, for a brief moment, Nintendo jumped on to the top 10 most valuable companies in Japan. Mm-hmm. Now, you're probably thinking, well, wasn't it already in the top 10? No, it was not. It's been in the top 15, apparently, for quite a while. But what makes this so amazing is for that brief moment, Nintendo jumped above Sony Entertainment, kicking it off of the top 10 list and putting Nintendo squarely on the top 10 list. Now, by the time trading it ended at the end of the day, Nintendo had slipped back down to number 11. However, at first you're thinking, oh, well, you know, it's a day trading fluctuation thing, whatever. It's important to realize something. Nintendo does one single thing. That makes video gaming hardware and software. That's all they do.
And playing cards.
Okay, playing cards, right. Good point there. But they deal with gaming. They deal with gaming, I guess, may be more specific. Right. Look at Sony Entertainment. Sony has its feet in everything. Movies, television, software, hardware, you name it, consumer electronics, right? These guys have got their paws in everything. And for a relatively small company like Nintendo that specializes in a single solitary market to jump above Sony, I mean, the people who are at the top of this chart are things like Honda, you know, Panasonic, Toyota. These are the companies that Nintendo all of a sudden is rubbing arms with now in the top 10 most valuable companies.
You know what blows even more perspective? I mean, Sony, not only are they, you know, they're doing movies. I mean, look at like Spider-Man. They got the whole entire Spider-Man franchise. Look at all the money invested in that. I mean, you got to put that in perspective against Nintendo, as you said. They only make video games.
Right.
So it just blows your mind.
I'm sorry, that completely wipes my mind. That shows you the power and popularity of the DS and the Wii. I mean, until these items came into fruition, Nintendo did not jump onto the top 10, and it just blows me away. So anyway, that's some little food for thought that we're talking about on our discussion forums that you can reach by going to dualscreenradio.com. Got to get in our site plugs, yes.
Yes.
Let me go ahead and take the next one too, actually, since this was sort of my news item. I don't understand people, first of all. You could tell them over and over again something. You can explain it to them in detail why something is not going to happen. You can do anything short of, you know, performing it for them in a Jerry Bruckheimer production, and they will still not believe you because of some goofy-ass rumor posted by somebody else. Prime example, we know by looking at the Japanese and European imports of the latest release from Nintendo, the Opera DS web browser, very simply put, there's absolutely no possible way that you were going to be able to watch movies on YouTube with the Opera DS browser. We knew that was the case. And yet somehow, for some reason, everybody was still saying, well, maybe in the U.S. release, they've been waiting so long to release it because they're going to add YouTube or Flash capabilities. And we sit there over and over again saying, no, it's not going to happen. The DS is not technically capable. But a Nintendo rep said that it was going to happen. Okay, and we've already talked about how knowledgeable Nintendo reps are. Why would you listen to some email posted on some anonymous website somewhere that says, oh, yeah, the Nintendo DS browser is going to support Flash and what was the other thing? Java and Flash.
Mm-hmm.
You've lost your minds.
No YouTube, dude.
And it's like even the day before it came out, people were still clinging to the concept. No, Opera DS is going to be able to play YouTube. I know it's true. I read it on this website. Oh, it makes me mental when people don't listen. No, it is confirmed officially, as we've already discussed earlier during the story time. Opera DS does not play Flash. It does not play YouTube videos.
The thing
There's
is,
no
too,
sound.
the thing is, I don't see how they could have made it do these things because, they're sitting there, well, they could change the software. That's fine. They can change the software all they want. But look at the device that this is playing on. That's not going to change. The specs and the text, the abilities of the system are still going to be the same no matter what.
Right.
The thing's got 4 megs of RAM and 4 megabytes of RAM. It's just not enough to do a lot of the things. Just loading up something like the Monroe World Forum. I mean, it takes forever unless you turn off the tech or the what is it? The picture.
Images, yeah.
The images. There's a button to shut off to toggle the images on and off. Unless you shut that completely off, even still, it takes forever for it to load. What makes you think possibly that YouTube is certainly going to load in any less time?
It makes me amazed.
The technical readouts of the DS just aren't strong enough.
See, here's what I think the big problem is. Most of the people who are getting into this have never once had like a Pentium 75 with 4 megs of RAM with Windows 95 on dial-up. Because that's essentially what we're talking about on the DS is a P75 with 4 megs of RAM on dial-up. And
Right.
if you've never experienced that, of course you're not going to know that it's not technically capable. It's just
I'm talking 14.4K .2.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey guys.
It's not even 56K.
So do us a favor, folks. If we tell you that it's absolutely not going to happen, do us a favor. Don't come to the forum and say, well, I think it's going to happen. For some reason, I think of European Vacation. Dad, I think he's going to pork her. Russ, he's not going to pork her. I think he's going to, Dad. I don't know. I don't know. I appreciate the optimism that people have. And the Opera browser is great. It's just the hardware just isn't capable of keeping up with those sort of demands. So,
and that's not to sound pompous and to think that we're always going to be right here, but after experiencing the Japanese and then the European versions of this software, it was plainly obvious this was not going to come to be. And I think a lot of the confusion was stemmed from the fact that Nintendo was just trying to roll out the Wii version of the Opera browser at the time, and I think a lot of the miscommunication may have come from the side of that.
Yeah,
so.
I agree. Yeah. So anyway, there you go. Confirmation. The U.S. version is no different than the European version. Moving right along. Let's see. Oh, I guess I got one more here, don't I? As you may have already heard, Nintendo moved a lot of their PR people down to separate offices, I think in New York and San Francisco. Am I right? Or was it San Diego?
I believe it was, yes, San Francisco. They're relocating pretty much most of the people from their marketing staff to New York and San Francisco.
Yeah.
Because currently they're in Washington. I think they're in Redmond. And I think a lot of people don't want to make the move. So people like our fan favorite Perrin Kaplan, our mistress of misinformation, is going to be leaving Nintendo, along with George Harrison, who's actually been a pretty big deal with them for years now.
Yeah, so we're seeing a migration. That was big in the news a couple weeks ago that a bunch of Nintendo's PR people are jumping ship. It's important to understand that these people don't want to relocate, and we understand that. We have families. We wouldn't want to necessarily relocate. But it's also important to note that thank the hell God we got rid of Perrin Kaplan. She was nothing more than a liability to the Nintendo DS.
She probably knew more than or she probably knew less rather than the girl at the ghetto Target cashier register.
I guarantee it. I mean, what do you do? Get drunk and go on camera with the IGN guys? What is that? I mean, we've got Reggie, the Reginator, who is like the coolest dude on the planet. And then you've got Perrin Kaplan that undoes everything that he manages to put out. You know, good riddance. I am so glad that they're gone. Oh, okay. So maybe there was a little bit of editorial commentary in that, but let's say I'm glad that they're gone.
Yeah, somebody like George Harrison, it's a little harder probably, but Perrin Kaplan, yes. I mean, if you've seen the videos in the past of her, it wasn't a pretty sight. I mean, it was almost like she was kind of slumping her way through these interviews. I mean,
it's horrible.
I remember the time she said that the Wii was going to be able to play regular, DVD movies or something, right out of the box. I think if it was one of the things she mentioned. So.
Yeah, she was not good for Nintendo. Good riddance.
Something cool this week that came out, and a couple of our UK buddies in the forums have mentioned it, and I'm going to try to get the link up on our link section for this episode. Nintendo is hawking Brain Age in the UK with a little help from Nicole Kidman.
Oh, yes.
It's pretty funny seeing a celebrity in a commercial. Because, you don't really see a lot of them over here in America. I mean, the first one that comes to my mind is like Catherine Zeta-Jones doing the T-Mobile stuff. At least she used to.
Yeah.
But I know in UK and Japan, there's tons of actors and actresses that do these kind of commercials. I mean, you might get somebody like Hugh Jackman doing, a cologne commercial or something, So,
right.
So it's kind of cool to see Nicole Kidman sitting there playing Brain Age. Her Brain Age was like 52, and she was doing Rock and Paper. And the commercial overall wasn't the greatest commercial, but seriously, how many DSs and Brain Age are they going to sell just based on the fact that she's playing that system? It's going to be insane.
I know.
So it's always good to see that kind of stuff. And of course, the commercial's already on YouTube. So
yeah, we'll see if we can get you a link. Yeah.
There's a link in the forum already. One of our guys in there, I think it was Mr. Tornado. He's always on top of this stuff.
Yeah. In
terms of the UK, especially in imports. But he posted a link to it, and we're going to try to get it up there. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. She just does it right. I don't know. Whew.
She's one of the few women, I think, that have actually, like in Hollywood anyway, that have gotten better looking as they've gotten older. There's something more dignified and everything about her now than they're, like if you looked at her in one of her earlier movies and looked at her now, she would look just totally different, just in terms of everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what would you say favorite movie that she's been in? Not from a movie point of view.
I can't say I'm the big follower of her movies to begin with. I mean, I think the first time I saw her was in Dead Calm, and that was a good movie. But I'm not a big follower of her movie. I've not seen Stepford Wives. I barely saw Bewitched, and that was only because it was playing in the background.
Yeah.
So I really couldn't tell you.
All right then. So much. You're
sorry.
very helpful.
I destroyed that. I know.
Yeah, I know. I had a good bit going, and you ruined it. But that's
so sorry.
All right. Well, move along then. If you're not going to let me have my fun with you, then move along. All right. Go ahead. More news.
Sega, one last tidbit, and this is kind of just into the DSR newsroom, that word has it that Sega is in conjunction with BioWare, the popular company that did the Baldur's Gate series on the consoles that were really good stuff. They're going to be putting out a Sonic RPG for the DS. Why? I don't know. Personally, I think Sega needs to kill Sonic and put him done, because he is done. He's been baked too long, and I'm tired of his games.
Yeah, I'm ready for a new IP. Where's my Choo Choo Rocket? Damn it! I want my Choo Choo Rocket.
Now, I just hope that I know BioWare's been working on a super secret DS game for a long time now, and I'm really, really hoping this is not the game. I'm always hoping that this is going to be like they're secretly working on some kind of cool, Diablo-esque type of RPG or something for the DS.
Yes, please.
Because I'll be honest, I think they could pull it off. They're a quality company.
Yeah.
And I love their games on the consoles, so I'm hoping they can pull it off. And we'll see what happens. But I really hope this is the game that they've had cooking for some time now. It's been at least a year since we heard that they were working on a game, and I hope this is maybe their next project.
Yeah, please.
And that we'll actually get something good out of them, because the Sonic RPG is not exciting me whatsoever. I can't stand the characters. I used to love Sonic, but I don't like his additional family members that have come in over the years. Tails I could handle.
Yeah,
but the little pink hedgehog and the big blue cat and all that. Forget it. I can't stand it.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with it. I mean,
done.
Choo Choo Rocket, please. Thank you. I want Choo Choo Rocket. Damn it. And that GBA version is not going to work. I need touch support.
Yeah. Hey, that would be good with touch support, dude.
You imagine how cool that would be with touch support? Oh.
Yeah. Although I can't say I was a huge fan of the game to begin with, but I'd give it another shot on the DS certainly.
Oh, absolutely.
So moving on. We got some homebrew news now. We're going to close this up.
Yep.
I know. Did you want to start in with your review, or should we discuss some of the little things first?
Go ahead and talk about the emulation stuff. I think that'd be.
Yeah, the emulation stuff is great. For a while there, we've had a version of a Nintendo Entertainment System emulator. The big one everybody knew about was always Pocket NES, which was always big on the Game Boy Advance and whatnot, but not so much on the DS. So it's great that somebody's actually working on, all of a sudden, a DS version. Maybe not all of a sudden, but some of the features that we've been craving for are finally all of a sudden being worked on. NES DS has been around for a while, and it's been played pretty well. It's played very well anyway. Obviously, some of the support isn't there for certain tough games like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and whatnot. And I'm sorry to say, but I'm one of those true believers that, I think I have at least 35 to 40 NES cartridges sitting in a closet in my basement. Why am I not allowed to play these again? Just because Nintendo doesn't feel like... I'd rather sit and maybe grab a couple for the emulation, such as Super Mario, which I probably bought I don't know how many times already. I already own the original cartridges for them. I played them to death, and it's just nice to have them to take along with me on a little trip or to be at work or something. I could pop on NES DS. So some of the games, as I've said, aren't there yet. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, forget it, not playing.
Yeah.
They use specific chips that even PC emulation is still trying to cope with to a point. 10 years after Nesticle showed its face. But what's great is now we have DLDI patching for the R4, which means we can now save states, which means anytime in a game you want to shut it off, you can click on touchscreen. It's all touchscreen activated, by the way. The options are all via the touchscreen.
Very slick.
Yeah, it's very well done. It's the same as the NES DS if you've played it before on, say, a SuperCard or a Slot 2 device. Except in this case, you're going to be able to save your game now. No need to go in and make files. It's all on the fly, and it's fantastic. So if you're playing a little Legend of Zelda, playing a little Super Mario Brothers, and I got to go. I got to put the game away. Movie's starting. Trains arrive. Whatever. Flight's here. Just hit save state. Close the DS. Resume anytime you want later on. It works fantastic.
That's good stuff.
And one thing I really like to use the save state on is something like Balloon Fight. Balloon Fight is a game that you're playing to get the high score on. So what's great is, after you finish the game and you hit the game over screen and you get back to the title screen again, you save a state from that point on. Because then your top score is actually saved, something that you couldn't even do in the original Nintendo version. So when you resume your play, when you go back in, you start Balloon Fight up again, you load your state, it'll start you off right where you were when you stopped before and save the game, which is going to be the Balloon Fight title screen. Obviously you can do this at any point during the game, but something like Galaga, the NES ports of Galaga or Gyrus, Space Invaders, Pac-Man, any arcade game where you were going for score, it's a fantastic use for this. And that's pretty much what I'm playing on this. All the old games like Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, Popeye. Some of the NES ports are pretty decent. So anything that's good to take along with you is fantastic. Puzzle games are perfect for that. So NES DS, excellent. Check it out. Obviously, it's still being worked on. Some little glitches here and there. I've noticed in Legend of Zelda, a game I've bought I don't know how many times. It's one of my favorite games. I own it for the Game Boy. I own it on the Virtual Console. I own the original gold cartridge for the Nintendo. I don't see any reason why I shouldn't be allowed to try it on my DS via emulation. I've paid my dues, you know?
Absolutely.
So I'm not doing anything illegal here when I've already owned the game in 4 different incarnations of its release. If you're crying out loud. So, one thing that's really driving me crazy about that emulation part of it is that the sword, when you have your maxed out and your full hearts and you can launch your sword, the sound effect is completely missing. It really kind of takes away from the game, I think, a little bit. To me, that's the real nostalgia thing, and it kind of sucks. But you know what? I figure if somebody's working on this now, because the SDS in its original form hasn't been updated in like forever. I think it had like one. It hasn't been updated in over a year, maybe a year and a half. So the fact that this came out of nowhere with the save state is just fantastic in itself. So I can accept the fact that it still has its old glitches. Overall, the compatibility is very well done, though. So if you can ignore some minor glitches, I think you're going to have a lot of fun. Moving on a little bit, it kind of came in tandem with the NES DS release, is Lame Boy, which is a Game Boy old school black and white emulation program for the DS. It's not quite as far advanced as NES DS. It's more or less a new release, but it looks like it's already got it's got it going on. I mean, it's going to be a pretty improved product, I think, eventually, and I think it's going to be a fantastic release once everything gets settled in. One thing that's really cool is the zoom feature, which allows you to boost the tiny little GBA resolution on your DS screen. Normally, this is a big black border, surrounding the original Game Boy resolution. What you can do is I think it's the right shoulder button. It's one of those things where I got to play it and actually do it in motion. I don't remember offhand, but I think it's the right shoulder button. You hit that and it will zoom in on the screen. Sort of similar to what you could do on the Game Boy Advance SP when you put a Game Boy cartridge in, how it would kind of fill up the screen at its not native resolution. So things would look a little more blocky and distorted, but overall, the games look like they're getting there. I mean, Game Boy Color support is pretty laxing. But the old Game Boy games, some of them work pretty well. Zelda is not completely there, but it works great. P-Cross works fantastic. And it's getting there. I'm really excited to be trying this, because how else are you going to play all your old Game Boy cartridges, which, once again, I've got quite a few of in a closet as well. Why shouldn't I be able to play my Kirby Block Ball on my DS? I think it's really cool stuff. I own the game. Why can't I play it on my DS?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Check them out. Give them a shot. I think there might be some links in the forums, but I'm going to see if I can get some links up for the show. Not that I'm sure anybody really checks the links out, in my opinion, but
yeah,
get them up.
No one goes to the website, which, by the way, is located at dualscreenradio.com.
Yes, just in case you were just joining us.
Yes, if you were just joining us in progress.
Yeah. You might have skipped ahead for God only knows how long we've been recording now.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, moving along, I've got 2 pieces of hardware. This is one of those things that people have asked for more hardware looks in the homebrew section of the show. And I got 2 things to tell you about, one good thing and one, sucky thing. Let's talk about the sucky thing first, because it's going to be pretty short and quick.
Get the bad stuff out of the way first, yeah.
One of the things that I'm asked on a regular basis is, can I go down to a store and buy a flash card? I don't want to have to order from PlayAsia. I don't want to have to order from some website. I want to just go down to a store and buy one. Can I do that? The answer in a broad spectrum is no, because they're legally gray. They allow you to do things that break the law, blah, whatever. Right? Well, amazingly enough, a company called Daytel, who's been around forever, you may have heard of the old Action Replay thing, right? Well, that's Daytel, a.k.a. Code Junkies. And somehow they have managed to get legally gray devices into retail stores, which is simply amazing. I don't know how they managed to do this. But Best Buy actually carries the Daytel line of products, which allow you to do anything from cheating in games all the way up to bypassing the security on your Nintendo DS. There's a couple of products that come to mind when you think about Daytel and the DS. One of them is their whole Max Media product line, which has the Max Media launcher, the Max Media dock. That's saved for another show. I haven't actually gotten a chance to play with one, but don't worry, I'll rip it to shreds later. Instead, I was browsing through Best Buy, and I saw they had a Daytel Games and Music card available. And I said, you know what, I owe it to the show to buy this sucker and review it for the show. And if it totally sucks nut, which I'm sure it will, I can always return it, which I did. But anyway, on to the review. The Game and Music card is a slot 1 device that accepts a micro SD card, much like the R4 or the Cyclo DS, which is what we're going to talk about also later on. It comes with 128 megs as well as a CD filled with a bunch of homebrew games that you can immediately drop onto your card. And also it'll supposedly will play MP3s for you using some interface. So, the first thing you're going to notice is, for those of you who are in the homebrew scene, you'll notice the first thing that you'll notice is there are no save files on the disc. So I'm thinking to myself, well, that's not good. Maybe there's no way to actually save a game or use the file system, using DLDI or something like that. It turns out I was right. The Game and Music card offers absolutely no writing capabilities back to the card. So if you want to play a homebrew game, say Word Up, which we've reviewed and gave favorable reviews to, you will not be able to use the high score save. It'll be disabled. If there is a game that requires file system access, like Lemmings or any number of other homebrew device games or applications, like, say, DS Organize, or pretty much anything that is not a simple-ass homebrew game, you will not be able to use it on the Game and Music card. So for homebrew stuff, you are limited to games that have no load, no save, and no disk access abilities, which, amazingly enough, there's tons of it out there. But I'm also going to go on record as saying that of all the games that were included, which I think were like 50 or something, not many of them clocked in as being, oh, gee, I'd love to play this game. No, the games you want to play are probably like Quake and Lemmings and Word Up and games of that nature and stature. So this card does not clock in very well when it comes to the whole gaming scene. The homebrew gaming scene, I should say. So your next question is, can I put commercial games on it? No. No commercial games, no homebrew games that access the file system. Pretty much a worthless for the game part of Game and Music. What about as a music player? Well, first of all, it plays MP3s and MP3s. So as long as you're playing MP3s, and you should be, then you're fine. It'll play all sorts of different bit rates. I threw a couple of different odd ones at it. It played them all seamlessly. And it uses its own interface. I really thought that they threw Moonshell on the disc, but it's not. It is built into the system, and it's a serviceable music player. It'll actually turn the screens off while it's playing if you wait too long. So you start a song, it starts playing, and then a few moments later, the screens will dim out so you don't waste your battery. And it'll actually continue playing if you close the lid, which, of course, makes sense. It's the way Moonshell works. It's the way it should work. Well, one of the things that was strangely missing was, wouldn't you think that the left and right buttons on the top would fast forward or at least to go to the next song or something? No. The two top buttons do absolutely nothing. If you want to change songs, you're required to open the unit and bring up the interface and actually fast forward or rewind and do what you need to do. So does it work as a music player? Kinda, yeah. Yeah, it certainly doesn't work good as a game device. So when you take the games and the music out of the Games and Music card, you are left with basically a $34 piece of crap. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, hey, what about as a pass-me device? Can I at least use it to, say, boot onto a Slot 2 card? Alas, no. This product will not even give you the satisfaction of being able to use it as a pass-me device.
Well,
so,
unless you want to pass it in the store, right?
Yeah. The best way to use this as a pass-me device is to pass it up when you go to the store. Mm-hmm. Frankly, if it were me, I would recommend fully that you take $34.95 out of your wallet and wipe your backside with it, because that's actually going to prove to be more valuable use of your money than buying the Daytale Games and Music card. So there you have it. Stylus down. Is there anything more than stylus down that I could possibly give this piece of HUD?
Wow.
No. It's horrible.
So I think you're trying to say that it's not worth the money.
I am trying to say that you would be better off buying an Eminem album than to actually buy the Games and Music card.
Nice.
And that says a lot. Okay, now let's move on to something that's a little bit better news. Up until recently, the R4 card has been the creme de la creme. It is the ipso de facto for homebrew, for legalized use of your archival backups of your game ROMs. It has been considered the best device on the market. Now, a lot of people argue that the SuperCard 1 is a good device, and it is. It's just something that's not quite as mainstream as it used to be. SuperCard used to be synonymous with the term flash card, like Q-tip is to cotton swab. But unfortunately, as of late, that unfortunately has not really been the case. They've been behind the scenes. They've had a lot of games that didn't work, et cetera, et cetera. So, unfortunately, the SuperCard has kind of lost its luster. R4 is it. And we've talked about the R4 in the past. So along comes the Cyclo DS Evolution, which promises to be the killer card for your Nintendo DS. It's supposed to have everything that the R4 has and then more. We're promised on-the-fly DLDI patching. No more patching your stuff. We're promised that you can do slow motion. Remember, like in the old days on the NES, you could turn on your controller. You could buy a controller.
And it was absolutely horrible. I hated it.
It was horrible. So we're promised slow motion and in-game reset, as well as, get this, the ability to change the brightness of your screen, Nintendo DS Lite only, inside the game. Sounds like a fairy tale to me. Directly compatible with the Action Replay cheat system. Fully supports single-card DS download play, which we all know the R4 is extremely hit and miss on. Also supports the new micro SDHC, which is that new high-density micro SD card that lets you have 32 gigabytes on a single card. And some features such as auto-booting to the last game you played. So, obviously, with some of these things, obviously the R4 does, the in-game reset, and now, compliments of the great folks over at the R4 development team, they also have on-the-fly DLDI patching. But this was the first card to talk about it, and the first card to implement it. And so I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about this card. I went ahead and I had one sent over, and I had a chance to take a look at it. This card is, from a physical standpoint, pretty straightforward. It's like every other flash card. It's the same size as a DS card. It doesn't stick out. It's easy to get in and out. Occasionally, it seems to hang when you take it out, but it doesn't hurt anything. It's more of a minor inconvenience. The micro SD card slot is not spring-loaded, which I have grown to appreciate, because I just know that the one in my R4 one is going to crap out at some point. From a construction point of view, it's solid. You can see the chips stick out a little bit where the label covers it. It's not that bad of a deal. It's not the most comely card ever, but for me, it's going to go in my DS. I'm not going to see it, so what do I care what it looks like, right? So, I'm currently using the 1.13 firmware. So be sure that if you're listening to this review and you've got one, that you've got an update or that your information is current, because there's a lot of improvements over the last couple of firmware upgrades. First of all, how does this guy work? You throw your stuff onto the card. Requires, of course, clean ROMs. No patching is required for commercial games. Just like the R4, you drop the files on the card and you fire it up. You don't have to create your own save files. You don't have to do any of that weird stuff. For homebrew games, you simply get the DLDI compatible version, drop it on the card, and the card handles it as promised on the fly. So the nice thing is it patches it when it loads, So you don't actually get the version changed on your card. So if you have this on a micro SD card, you have Lemmings, and you run it on your Cyclo DS Evolution card, and it plays, you could then take that card out, stick it into your R4, throw it into your DS, and it will continue to play because it's not patched for a different system. So that's good stuff. It actually works as promised. On the fly DLDI, it works great. So let's talk about some of the other stuff that they promise. I couldn't test the micro SDHC support, so I can't really go there, but let's talk about the other stuff. You put it in, you power it up, you get the Cyclo DS boot screen, which is slightly longer than the R4 loading screen. Once it loads, you are presented with 3 options, similar but not identical to the R4. The first one goes to the games menu. The second one launches your Moon Shell, which is a specially patched version of it. I have not had an opportunity to look at this, so I cannot comment on why a special patched version is required or what it offers differently than Moon Shell on, say, the R4. The third option is not boot to slot 2, but rather brings up a settings menu where you have several options available to you. One of them is enabling cheats. The cheat system is not quite as fluid as the R4. In other words, on the R4, when you highlight a game that has cheats for it, a little box pops up and says, cheats, turn on cheats, push Y. And then it turns on the cheats. In this one, you actually physically have to go to the settings menu, turn on the cheats. It'll hold the settings, so if you want to cheat all the time, you're good. Turn on the cheats, go to the game. When you start the game, it'll say, would you like to turn on cheats? Yes. Then it brings up a list of the cheats. You turn them on, turn them off, and then you start the game. The cheat system is not as robust from a user point of view as the R4 is, but I have a feeling that they'll be fixing that soon because people are complaining about it. Next up on that menu is the enhanced mode. That is what turns on the in-game menuing system. That includes the slow motion, in-game reset, and the brightness selection settings. If this is turned off and you're inside the game, there's no way to get out of the game. You may need to turn it off because some game may not work properly with that turned on. So far, I have not found a game that works with it turned on. This includes Nacho Libre, which did not work with in-game reset on with the R4. So they've definitely seemed to have better perfected that system, that piece of code that does that. And then finally, you can boot to slot 2, which is what you would hope to be able to do. So if you use slot 2 a lot, you're also it's not quite as convenient to get to the slot 2 card as it was on the R4. Moving along, the games menu currently is not what I was hoping for. The games menu itself uses a scrollable list that shows about 4 games or so on the screen at a time, using a big icon on the left, the name of the game, and the description text of the game underneath that. So basically, every game in the list uses 2 full-size lines. So in other words, if you have a lot of games and a lot of stuff on your card, you have to scroll a lot. And to scroll a page at a time, instead of using left and right on the D-pad, you have to use the L and R buttons, which is okay. At least you can do it, but it seems clunky compared to the R4. However, they do use a over time accelerated system where if you hold down and you're scrolling through the games, the longer you hold down, the faster it scrolls. That's kind of a neat improvement. Personally, I liked being able to page left and right page up and down using left and right on the D-pad. I also have a feeling that this will be fixed as well, because other people have also expressed that they like that feature also. So once you launch the game, as you would expect, a little loading box comes up, and in a few moments you're presented with the game. Same as the R4. Couple of things of note. Of course, as with the R4, it'll create a save file for you. However, this does it automatically. You will not be asked if you want to create a save file. It just happens. There is no way to back up or play a different save file. On the R4, you were allowed to kind of enter the file system and delete some things, make backups of your save files, that sort of thing. Not available, at least at this time, in the Cyclo DS. A lot of people don't use that anyway. Personally, I think it's kind of cool because I don't want to launch DS Organize just to delete a file. So I imagine that too will eventually end up in the product, because people will obviously like that. So you launch the game plays. I experienced no slowdowns, no compatibility problems. Everything ran pretty much as it should. I'd like to do some more side-by-side comparisons to see if there's any slowdowns or noticeable speed differences between the R4 versus the Cyclo DS. If there are, they're pretty negligible at this point in time. So let's talk about the in-game freeze menu, is what I call it. You're in the middle of the game, and like the R4, you hold down L, R, A, B, X, and Y together. The game freezes, and you're taken to an in-game menu. Now, the in-game menu features a couple of items that we've already talked about. Go back to the main menu. Cool. You can also return to the game. Of course, that's also expected. And you have adjust brightness, which is absolutely perfect. You can click on it, and it'll toggle through the 4 levels of brightness. Now, a lot of people are like going, well, what do I need that for? That's stupid. Well, I'll be honest with you. It's actually useful. I tend to keep my game in sleep mode a lot. In other words, I'll be playing Etrian Odyssey, say in bed at night. It's dark. I've got my light set to level 0 or 1, however you want to count it, and it's dim. Well, then I go to work, and I'm in the bright light, fluorescent lighting, whatever, and it's very bright, and I need to turn the screen up. Well, in Etrian Odyssey, I may not be near some place where I can save it and get back into the game. I'm in the middle of questing through this long-ass dungeon, and I don't want to leave and come back into the game. So I freeze the game, I hop in, I turn my brightness up to match my environment, I go back to the game, and I continue playing. A extremely useful feature that you won't realize you need until you have it. Very cool. Now, I'm guessing at some point in time the R4 is going to get this feature too, because there's a huge amount of competition between the flash card communities, and everybody wants to have what everybody else has. Something I definitely see as possible. So what about this slow motion thing? What's that all about? Slow motion allows you to toggle on and off the ability to run a game in, amazingly enough, slow motion. I tested this with 2 games that I thought would be useful. One of which was Nanostray, which is a scrolling, high-speed, high-energy shooter. And I also tested it with Bomberman Land Touch in the classic Bomberman mode. Both of them, believe it or not, performed very, very well. It's like they went in and patched the vertical blank interrupt timer to only go every 4th time or something. It actually is a playable slow-mo mode. Hey, I'm totally shocked and stunned and amazed that it works. Now, I haven't had a chance to do it over tons and tons of titles, but it works, and it works very well. There is one exception to the whole slow-mo thing, and that is that it does not seem to affect music and sound. So while the game itself and the controls run like they're running underwater, the music continues happily playing on in the background as if nothing was going on. I know what you're thinking. How cool would this be for a game like Elite Beat Agents, where it moves so fast? If I could slow it down a little bit, I might be able to finish that level. Well, unfortunately, the music keeps playing while the game itself slows down, and there is no rhythm for you to get into when that happens. So it's not perfect, but it works very well. It's a very nice value add that the R4 does not currently have. I kind of akin it to cheating, so I probably won't use it, but it's nice to know that if you want it, it's there. So what else were we promised? The direct compatibility with the Action Replay cheat system. The Cyclo DS comes complete with 300 plus cheat codes built into the firmware. So you do not need to go and download a DAT file and put the DAT file in the right spot. It's all built in. Currently, there is no way to add additional cheats to the system. They promise that in a future build, and based on them meeting their promises up to date, I pretty much tend to believe that that will come, and it will be implemented very well. The cheat system works a lot like the R4. You get in, you check what you want, you start the game, and it works. Pretty straightforward. Some people have reported that some games with the cheat system turned on do some white screens of death, have some lockups, but it doesn't appear to be widespread, and it could be an isolated incident. So if you are having a problem, go back and turn the cheats off and see if the game still continues to give you problems. Same with the enhanced mode. Although I have not yet found anything that will not play with the enhanced mode on. The biggest beef that I have, being somebody who plays a lot of multiplayer DS with my friends, is R4's rather piss-poor support of single-card DS download play. We've talked about how the DS download play thing works in another show, so I don't want to get into that. What you probably want to know is, does it work as promised? Yes. All of the games that have given me problems, such as Konami's Arcade Classics and Mario Kart, a lot of these games that single-card download play failed to work, now works completely perfect with the Cyclo DS. If this is one of those features that people say, well, I've got an R4, do I need a Cyclo DS? One of the things I ask them is, do you need solid single-card download play? If you do, then yeah, you need a Cyclo DS, or you need to wait for R4 to get off their ass and fix it, which they have claimed to me that they're going to do. But unfortunately, Team R4 has been a little less zealous in producing the promised things than Team Cyclops has. So take that for what it's worth. Auto booting to the last game played. Now, this is pretty cool. This is a couple of things that, of course, the R4 card could do easily, and I guarantee you at some point in time they will. While the main screen of the Cyclo DS is booting, if you hold down the L and R buttons on the top, it'll automatically launch you into the last game you were playing. It's not a save state, but if you're playing Etrian Odyssey or Final Fantasy III and you're playing it every single day over and over again, and you don't want to have to navigate through the menus, find it, and launch it, just hold down those two buttons and it'll automatically boot to whatever the last game was that you played. Very, very cool feature. R4 needs that as soon as possible. They also offer one other thing called the auto booting game, which allows you to take a game and rename it to autoboot.nds, and whenever your system boots up, that's the thing it'll default to. So if you have a thing like DS Organized, this is exactly what this is for, folks. A lot of people say, I would like to be able to boot my DS up directly to DS Organized and kind of use it as a PDA and then also play games on it on the side. Absolutely possible now with this product. You could rename dsorganized.nds to autoboot.nds, and whenever you turned on your DS, the first thing you would see, or the first thing that you would have, would be your DS Organized ready to run. If you want to bypass that, if you push up on the D-pad, the auto run will abort and it'll send you back to the menu. Quite a useful feature, folks. And again, this is not something that R4 couldn't do. They just haven't gotten around to doing it yet. So let's surmise. Everything that they've promised on, they've delivered. The on-the-fly patching, the in-game menus, the slow motion, the cheat system is still a little bit in its infancy, but they do deliver on a cheat system. The DS download play, it works. So far, even the hard sell games that often give flash carts trouble, such as Ultimate Spider-Man. What are some of the other ones that tend to freak things out? Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. All of these games played exactly as they should on the Cyclo DS, making it definitely, if not the best card out there, on the top of the list. If you're looking to buy a card, brand new and fresh, and things like the slow motion, 100% DS download play, if those sort of things appeal to you, those are not currently in the R4, then if you're buying out a brand new card outright, you might want to pick this up. I definitely recommend it. If you already have an R4, you have to justify to yourself, are these additional features worth spending and buying an extra card? The card runs about $10 higher than the R4 at $54.95 at most sites. Tons of different places you can get it. And it does, again, it uses FAT and FAT32, just as the R4 does for the file system, so you can irk out a little more space by using the appropriate cluster size for your card. One of the other things I'd like to mention, too, about the card that I thought was useful, before I continue, I sort of blew this one under the couch, is the card skinnable. Yes, you may do one skin. It's very easy to do. You simply create a folder called Cyclo DS, and you put all your skin files in there, and it'll pick that up and use that as the skin. The R4 allows you to have 12 different skins that you can change at a whim. The Cyclo DS does not. It's very skinnable. It's very easy to skin. Even I can do it. You don't have to know much about, they even give you templates, and there's a variety of skins available off the Team Cyclops forums. So skinnable, thumbs up. Not as comprehensive as skinnable as, say, the R4, but you can skin it. One of the things that I really thought was cool about the Cyclo DS was the fact that you do not have to have any system files on the card to make it work. The entire operating system of the Cyclo DS is located right inside the 2 megabytes of firmware that's on the flash card. So like the R4, you have to copy a folder and 3 files down to the card. On the Ninja Pass X9, you have to copy the loader DS and this file and that file. Literally, you can take a blank card, blank micro SD card right out of the box, throw games on it, throw it into the Cyclo DS, and it'll run right as it is. So that's also cool. So back to the original question: can I run? Should I be running out to buy this card if I already have an R4? If the features match the price and you feel that slow motion and some of these other features are worth you buying another card, maybe you're just one of those guys that like to keep up with the latest in technology. This is definitely going to be the card for you. If you do not yet have a flash card and you're interested in getting into the homebrew scene, into the archival backup scene, at this point in time, I would recommend that you purchase this one over the R4 simply because it has a lot of features plus everything else pretty much that the R4 does have. So that's kind of where we're looking. It's a fantastic addition to the Slot 1 community, probably even more important than the hardware itself and the feature set is how responsive Team Cyclops is to its community. They have forums up. They answer their emails extremely quickly. They're offering immediate replacements directly from them if you happen to get a card that's faulty. They are very receptive to user input. In fact, the last 2 or 3 firmware upgrades has been pretty much all user-suggested stuff. And their next upgrade is going to have tons more of user-suggested stuff, including tons of stuff that yours truly has offered up to them as ways to improve their interface. So sometimes it's worth the extra money just to have that kind of technical support with a company. They are absolutely fantastic. Go check out their forums if you want to really see how technical support should be done. So that will wrap up my review of the Cyclo DS Evolution card.
See, that's the thing I was curious about. Like, if the price of the chip, or not the chip, the card itself, since it's a little more than the R4,
yeah,
is worthwhile over the price of the R4 itself, because the R4 you can pretty much find for around $40, $50, and I think this card's going for something like $70, correct? So
no, it was $54 that I paid for it, and you can find R4s
really?
for about $45.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's about $10 more expensive, and I guarantee you that price will go down as the production goes up. So
I guess the key things are the slow-mo, and the download play multiplayer compatibility at this point, right? And the bonus to have extra, I guess, space for your micro SD cards eventually, since you have that huge support level available to you.
Yeah.
But as I was joking to Shane about last night, 10 years from now, we may be able to get a 32 meg micro SD, a 32 gig micro SD for $20 on Newegg.
Yeah, it's exactly true too. The way the technology moves. So if you have any questions, feel free to come to our forums off of dualscreenradio.com. I've also put up a frequently asked questions page for the Cyclo DS, answering a lot of questions, including some of the gotchas you might find when you're migrating from the R4 to the Cyclo DS. We will have a link for you.
Nice.
For that. And that pretty much wraps up the homebrew segment for this show. Ran a little bit longer, but hopefully you find this sort of thing interesting and useful.
Yeah. Well, this thing isn't cheap. And a lot of people, I think, at this point are so, satisfied with their R4, including myself, that they would want to know what are the pluses and negatives over buying or upgrading or, based on the price tags and the features,
whether it's worth it or not.
I think it's a valuable thing to discuss.
Absolutely. And I think I've pretty much covered most of that.
I'd say so.
And if and then some. So if you have questions, again, if you're concerned about certain features or certain things you may have heard, please don't hesitate. Again, I'm pretty active on the Team Cyclops forum right now, trying to help them perfect their product. helping out some of the other users, and of course, trying to get myself involved into that community, because that also helps us promote the show here. So that's always helpful.
Nice. Well, hey, you could direct them to your review for this episode.
And it's going to happen.
Yes, just like the puzzle quest one that really worked out.
That really worked out great. Well, they deserve it, man. That's a great game.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Fantastic game.
Fabulous game.
It's a shame Etrian Odyssey came out, though.
I know. That really took away my... Hey, that's a good point. That segues into our last brand new segment, affectionately called Stranger, What Are You Playing?
What are you playing, stranger?
Yeah, what are we playing? That's a question we get a lot. A lot of people, for some reason, want to know what us minor time celebrities are doing with our Nintendo DSs. And
I mean, real minor time.
Yeah, like practically negligible. I don't think there's anything lower than an F celebrity. They have like A-list celebrities and B-list and C-list. I think we're below F somewhere.
One thing I want to try, I was hoping we can do is maybe get in touch with, the PR person from Atlas and see if we can get her on the horn.
I bet we can get her on there.
Yeah,
We've got point of contacts over there.
Maybe we can have a sequel to the Melissa Robinson interview.
Oh, wouldn't that be great? That was a lot more fun in person, though. I don't think it'd be nearly as fun.
It wouldn't work.
Over Skype.
Yeah, it wouldn't work.
So what are we playing? What are you playing, Chris? What is occupying your time?
I just got done blowing through Resident Evil 4 on the Wii.
Nice.
I originally played it on the GameCube last year and for the first time, and I think I put in something like 19 hours. This time I was able to trim it down to 15.
Very nice.
And I think part of it comes across to the fact that it's a lot easier to aim with the Wii Remote. So a lot of your shots make a difference, and you can kind of clear the game a little quicker. Plus, I've already been through most of the areas, so I kind of already knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
But it was cool, though, because I found some stuff that I missed the first time. And some things I didn't get this time. Like, I didn't get a laser on my gun. I couldn't figure out how to get the laser on the gun. Your little,
Yeah.
But then again, this time I got the infrared scope for my rifle, which I missed the original time through. So that was pretty cool.
So it's cool, yeah.
Otherwise, most of my game time this week has been that game. I kind of just plowed through it because I wanted to get to the unlockables, which I have not really experienced so much on the from the PlayStation 2 edition of the game. But otherwise, of course, as per the review, I blew through Brothers in Arms, a little bit of Puzzle League, and Etrian Odyssey is always lurking in there. So that's pretty much rounds up what I've been playing lately. And I also downloaded Punch-Out on the Virtual Console.
Yeah, that's nice. Isn't that great? I've been playing the crap out of that too.
Yeah, so now I have, how many do I have? I have 4 Virtual Console games. I'm very picky with my Virtual Consoles because I've already owned the games in the first place. And I'm trying to find something that it's easy enough just to pick up and play with the wire, with the Wii Remote. So far I've got Zelda, which is one of my all-time favorite games, and I felt like I had to buy for the Virtual Console.
Right.
I have Alien Crush, which is always a favorite of mine. I'm waiting for Devil's Crush to hopefully show up.
It'll be a log.
It's such a better game. Soldier Blade, which was one of my favorite TurboGrafx shooters and favorite shooters from the early 90s. I'm not sure if you've played that, but it's a good game.
I missed out on
Albeit a tad easy, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course.
I just picked up Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, which... I mean, I don't know. I guess because the emulation's always so glitchy, and it felt cool having Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on my HD TV and everything. It's just pretty cool.
Mr. Dream's Punch-Out.
Yeah, that's the problem. I never played the Mr. Dream one, but in any case, we will see what happens. I mean, I've gotten my butt kicked so far at what's his name? The Indian guy. He always nails me at least once when I play the game. Sometimes I can't get the timing down.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what I'm playing. What are you playing?
Oh, Etrian Odyssey.
What are you playing?
What are you playing? I be playing Etrian Odyssey.
I think this is going to get old real quick.
Yeah, it sure is. The people at home are already going, oh, God, will you stop it with the...
Time to get on that voicemail.
Stop doing our merchant impression. Man. No, Etrian Odyssey has been pretty much hands down my game. Of course, I played a little Resident Evil on the Wii. I played Scarface on the Wii this last month quite a bit. That's such a great game. Such a great game.
Interesting.
I love it. And then, like I said, Etrian Odyssey, man. Of course, I've done a little bit of Planet Puzzle League, and I dabble in some of the other newer stuff just to kind of keep up on things. But I'm telling you, Etrian Odyssey, man, I just can't seem to get enough of that damn game. So I haven't even finished Puzzle Quest yet because I start playing Etrian Odyssey.
It's such a good game. I mean, and you know what? It's got so much. There's a lot of gameplay value in there. I mean, I think you're finally caught up to where I kind of stopped because I gave it a break for a little while playing Resident Evil. And for me, I kind of have to keep plugging away at the game, as I said, because I'll lose track of what I'm doing and I got to immediately go back to it or else I'm going to forget where I was in the game and then I end up having to start over. So, yeah, it's a good game. I mean, it's still good even a month later after our review.
Yeah, it's great.
It's so much value going on. I think
I already know that I'm only on the 10th level of the dungeon, and I know there's at least 20. So I know I've got a long way to go.
There's more than that.
Yeah, great. So I've got plenty of game time in front of me. I love it.
I love it. Yes.
We love it.
So yes, the other thing we need to mention is the Wi-Fi uplink site.
Yes, the Wi-Fi uplink, the fruition of many, many hours of work, is finally public and live. You can go to it at wi-fi.dualscreenradio.com. You can also get to it, of course, from the dualscreenradio.com main page. It is a dedicated portal strictly for Wi-Fi gaming on the DS. It uses all of your information from the Dual Screen Radio site. So if you've spent your time meticulously adding your games and your codes and everything else to the Dual Screen Radio site, all of these things carry over to the Wi-Fi uplink site. Basically, it works very similar to what the Dual Screen Radio site did, only this time it is completely dedicated, new interface, lots of new features, all the things that people have been asking for. I want to notify somebody when I've added them to my list. Boom, the site takes care of it for you. You want to see when other people add you to the list. Boom, site takes care of it for you.
Nice.
We've improved how you look at the games. There's an expanding, collapsing list of games. It's easy to see who you're missing, how many people have added you, but you have not added them. Even in Opera, if you've got Opera and you have the voice module installed in Opera, you can even have it read to you the other player's Wi-Fi number so that you can enter them into your Wii or your DS without actually having to look at the screen. So nice. We've done a lot of work with it. Next up is going to be tournaments. We're going to be able to let you schedule, play, and record the results of online game tournaments. That'll be next up on the list. So if you haven't been over there yet, definitely hop over to wi-fi.dualscreenradio.com, get your games in, get your numbers in, and we'll look forward to playing you online.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great thing. Great thing.
Good stuff.
I'm slowly but steadily adding everybody, so just bear with me. I'm really behind.
Yeah.
I'm not a good friend, I don't think, at this point.
Oh, dude, I am such a bad friend. There's a little friendometer that tells you how good of a friend you are based on how many people have added you, but you haven't added them type thing. And let me see. I haven't been on here in a little while. I bet I'm really delinquent. Let me see here.
Yeah.
French fried taters. Okay, so let's see. Where am I sitting at here? Had to get some Sling Blade in. Yeah. Okay. So I'm a really bad friend. I have 56 trusted friends, 12 people that I'm still awaiting to add me to their list, and 164 people waiting for me to add.
Holy cow.
I know. I suck.
Oh, you popular bastard.
I'm a popular bastard. Where am I lacking the most?
Man, I gotta tell you, this show certainly ran overloaded today, didn't it? I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
Dude, I've got 71 people pending on my Wii.
On your Wii?
my Wii. 71 people want me on their Wii.
71 people want your Wii, man.
They want my Wii. Well, folks, I think we're going to pretty much wrap it up here. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Don't forget, we got the voicemail now. Load up Skype. And please drop us a line. We'd love to hear from everybody out in the crowd. I mean, it's one thing to hear you in the forum. Just drop us a hello or something.
That'd be way cool.
We'll pick a few good ones and we'll play them on the air. So it's your chance to get on the show, more or less, until we are able to do an interview show. And I think eventually that's what this is going to lead into.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, because that'd be exciting. But Otherwise, our Season 1 CD is out, and unfortunately we had a little problem at the beginning, but it sounds like things are going to be all worked out, and everything should be fine. Everything's fine here now. How are you? So.
Yeah, how are you? Yeah, it's worth mentioning. You can order the product, the Season 1 Dual Screen Radio disc at dualscreenradio.com for the low price of $14.95. Take PayPal, take Google Checkout. 45 hours worth of shows. That's incredible. 21 full-length episodes of the entire Season 1. Plus you get a whole bunch of extra content, including bloopers and some of our sound checks, some of our miscellaneous random bitching, that sort of thing. Along with, of course, the preview of the What's in Shane's Shed, a mini-series I'm putting out this summer.
Oh, and I loved what you found in the preview. That was so cool. Such a nostalgia flood.
Yeah, for those of you who are over, I don't know.
Don't want to ruin it.
They don't want to ruin what's in my shed, but you'll.
That's one of the exclusives. Yes,
that's an exclusive to the Dual Screen Radio. Yes, I'd pay a very high price.
Stranger, such weapon is unable to be held in your hands.
That's so awesome.
Now that's a weapon.
Oh man, I can't get enough of the Merchant, dude.
I'm so burned out on that game again now, though, that I don't even want to play Separate Ways just yet.
That's
time to go back for some Etrian Odyssey.
Yeah, well,
actually, you know what else I've been playing? I've been playing Medios. I forgot to mention that. I've been going back and playing some Medios again.
That's nice. That's good.
I can keep playing that game over and over because I love all the little unlockables in it and everything.
So much good stuff in there.
And now the cell phone game's got me going back to playing it. Oh.
Then you have to go back and play it on a real machine after that.
Yeah, I get a little dose of the cell phone version, and I really want the real deal. And
of course,
one thing leads to another. Yes,
everybody does.
Well, I guess that wraps it up.
All right. Well, hope you enjoyed the episode. Tune in next month for another episode of Dual Screen Radio, where listening is good. This is Shane R. Monroe.
And this is, as always, Chris Hentschel.
And remember,
his co-host.
Listening is good.
Listening is good, stranger.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.